rides, running, and walking events. The amateur radio community, represented by the Santa Cruz County Amateur Radio Club, San Lorenzo Valley Amateur Radio Club, and the UCSC Amateur Radio Club, the Santa Cruz County Amateur Radio Emergency Service, have all active support to the Emergency Operations Center, CAL FIRE, the Sheriff's Department, California Highway Patrol, Search and Rescue, Large Animal Rescue Team, groups and volunteer agencies in their contributions of service to the community. Whereas this year, Amateur Radio Relay League Field Day exercise will take place at the CAL FIRE training facility in Ben Lomond on Saturday, June 25th and Sunday, June 26th. Therefore, I, Ed Bottorff, Mayor of the City of Capitola, do hereby proclaim June 20th to 26th, 2016 as Amateur Radio Week in Capitola, California, and call on all residents to support the very important emergency preparedness exercise and recognize the tremendous contributions Santa Cruz County amateur radio operators have made to this community. Thank you very much for your work.
Yes. Now you said you wanted me to say something?
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah,
wonderful.
For all the hard
Oh,
work you
boy.
did.
How much time do I have?
How much time do you want?
Oh.
Give everybody else 2 minutes, so, but how much time do you want?
I'm a woman, so I can talk for a long time. Actually, do we have any other ham radio operators present in the audience? Okay. That's a little light. Usually we have quite a few, but we understand that there's a big issue that people are going to be discussing, so they probably couldn't get in. We are very, very happy to be amateur radio operators and be available to assist in the event of an emergency situation. We have done so in the past when the cable optic cables were cut, and we had to make sure that medication was received by local hospitals and supplies. And, of course, everybody knows about the big earthquake when we were the main source of communication. And we stay prepared to be able to provide those services in the event that another catastrophic event would cut off the normal communication systems. And so fortunately that hasn't happened, but we're out there providing communications for all the local races and parades and so forth anyway. So we're happy to serve, and we're very happy for the City of Capitola to honor us with this proclamation, and we're looking forward to more than just one person on your staff being a licensed amateur person. So when you're ready to take a class and study, we're happy to have you.
We'll see if we can double that number by next year, okay? Do you have anything to say?
Thank you very much. I've been doing this hobby for about 40 years, involved with the Amateur Radio Emergency Service for about 20 now. I've been the emergency coordinator for the greater San Lorenzo Valley for about a year and a half, and it just is more and more of a pleasure to be able to help with emergency services, served agencies, contribute to STEM education, working with students at UCSC, working with retirees also, I mean, people of all ages, and it's not just a hobby, it's quite useful, especially in an emergency when no other communications works. It's there. But thank you very much.
Great, thank you. I want to thank you for volunteering, because volunteering is what makes Capitola the town that it is. So thank you for that. Okay.
I know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move to a report on closed session from the City Attorney.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Bottorff, members of the City Council. This evening, the Council met in closed session at 6 p.m. The items that were discussed are on page 1 of your posted agenda. They were taken out of order, so I'm going to report in the order in which they were discussed. First was a litigation matter entitled City of Capitola versus D'Angelo. In that matter, the City Council, by motion, adopted 5-0, approved a stipulated judgment. This litigation pertains to a property at 4960 Capitola Road in Capitola. The stipulated judgment requires the abatement of several nuisance conditions that were present at the property for many years, and it provides a timetable for correcting those violations by August 31st of this year, with various remedies available to the city should the property owners fail to meet that stipulated deadline. The stipulated judgment has been submitted to the court. We're anticipating court approval in the next several days, and a copy of the stipulated judgment will be made available to members of the public upon request. Second item was an item of real property negotiations, and that item pertained to the real property at 2091 Wharf Road in Capitola. The council received a report from its designated negotiator, the city manager, and gave direction, but there was no reportable action on that item. At that point, council members Termini and Bertrand left the chambers due to an existing conflict of interest, and the council discussed the pending litigation matter of Friends of Monterey Park versus the City of Capitola. That relates to the skateboard park item on this evening's agenda, and the council received report from legal counsel and gave direction, but there was no reportable action on that item. And that concludes my report.
Thank you for that report. Sue, we have any additional materials received?
Yes, thank you. We've received 160 additional materials regarding item 9A, the proposed skate park at Monterey Park, and one additional material regarding item 8E, proposals to repair the tennis courts at Jade Street Park. Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure the council aware is the additional item on item 8E for the tennis court repair, where we're recommending award of a contract to Vintage Contractors for the repair of the tennis courts at Jade Street Park.
That's on our consent
It's on
agenda.
the consent agenda, but we did the report on the actual contract award. It was on the additional material.
We'll wait and see if we have any questions on that. Bring it back up. Thank you for that. Mr. City Manager, any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Staff has no changes.
Okay. With that, we're going to come to the what's called the public comment period, and this is a public comment period for items that are not on our agenda. So if you're here for the skate park issue, this is not when you want to speak. But if there's any other issue that's related to Capitola city business you want to address the city council, you can come to the podium now. I guess we're all here for one reason. Okay, then we will go ahead and close the public comment period. We'll move to city council comments.
Yes. As many of you may or may not know, last night we had a Wednesday night concert. Nothing special. We have 12 or 13 of them every year. At this particular summer concert where the Expendables played, we had conservatively 3,000 people. We had 3,000 young people. We had 3,000 young people shoulder to shoulder from the stage out the street. We had them there for 3 hours. A lot of music was played. There was a lot of excitement. The beach was covered from end to end. And I'm here to tell you there were no police issues whatsoever. I don't know how many communities can say that. And, you know, if someone depicts to me the hoodlumism of our youth, I would have to point to that night and say, I have to question it, because there are a lot of happy kids there, and they had a great time.
Thank you for that. Good. Doc, any comments? Stephanie, comment. Dennis? Hold on. Recant.
Is this the time to bring up an item for a future agenda? How's that work?
It's a public, it's a comment.
It's a comment. You can bring it up now, sure.
Yeah, so we had a discussion at some point in the past, and we decided to bring it back, and that was to deal with parklets in the village for village businesses that might want to expand onto parking places. And about a month and a half ago, we decided to re-agendize that. I kind of like to get that re-agendized.
Mr. City Manager, we get that on the upcoming agenda?
We can.
Would that be with us, any idea what month that might be?
We do have a number of items coming up. We're going to have a push with the zoning code, so probably the best thing to do would be to tie it into our zoning code discussions, which I believe we'll be having in August and September.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Anything else?
Yeah, I've been going out to McGregor Park, and today was really a wonderful sight. I saw a bunch of little kids in the parking lot getting instructions on how to skate. It was absolutely fantastic. And I saw little kids that were falling on their face, well, not literally, but definitely falling off. And then after professional instruction, they were zipping back and forth, and then they went to the half pipe and were going up and down. But they're actually doing pretty well. So that was really neat to see. It's been about 10 times I've gone out there, and it's been progressively getting more attention and participation. The dogs out there running around also. So I look forward to the pump track, which will, if a lot of you don't know, the person designing the pump track is the same person who was called to design the one for the Rio Olympics. So spread that out, because that means we're going to have a really great pump track.
Thank you. Dennis, any comments?
I'm fine, thanks, Ed.
Okay, good. No treasurer. Any staff comments?
Staff has no comments.
I have one comment.
Okay, Sue.
Just wanted to announce we have an opening to fill a vacancy on the Capitola Historical Museum Board. So if anyone's interested, please contact the city clerk's office. And we have an opening for a student on the Commission on the Environment. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Sue. That moves us on to the consent calendar. These are items that we normally deal with in one motion. Is there anybody on the council who would like to pull anything on the consent agenda?
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
Second. Anybody from the public like to pull anything on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent calendar carries unanimously.
Ed, I'd just like to make a point out that in our contract to resurface the tennis courts, the city will be putting approximately $87,000 into that contract, and I think 35 of it comes from the Monty Foundation. So,
I think it was 38,000 from Monty, the rest is on us. And
so improving and keeping up our recreational facilities that we have now is not cheap.
I think our original estimate was about $100,000, and because of the nature of the work, it went a little high, but it's a 5-year warranty. Was that the motivation for that?
Seems like it.
Yeah, something like that. Great, thank you. So we're okay with the consent calendar. We'll go, it takes us to the general government public hearing, and at this time, I have to hear from 2 members of the council who would like to make an announcement.
It is necessary for any council member who needs to recuse himself to give a full explanation on why he's standing down from a particular decision. First, I am very disappointed that I cannot see this to the end and help my fellow council members. When this first came to us, there were 2 applicants, and Mr. Novak was not financially bound to the project. There are still 2 applicants, but since that time, Mr. Novak has put up a significant amount of money. When that happened, I petitioned the FPPC to make a ruling that if this person wasn't on the application but was putting money in, because my company does work at NHS and Mr. Novak's real property, am I still required to recuse myself? And they said, although he is not an applicant, it will give the impression of impropriety, and that's enough to recuse yourself. I could ask the question why anyone would pressure me to rule on something that would cost them money is a whole other discussion. But I just needed to underscore the fact that I questioned this myself. I brought this to the state through the city attorney because I did not want anything out of the ordinary or of dubious nature to take place with these proceedings. So I will be standing down from this decision. And finally, I might add, and you'll hear more about it when my colleague speaks, if we had both stood down before the first hearing, because we had opposing votes, I'm sorry to say we'd all still be in this room tonight anyway. And I don't think he's any more happier than I am with the decision of the FPPC, but I will let him speak to that.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. I think it was particularly hard for Mike to give the reasons why he's standing down, because I understand a lot of people feel that there was shenanigans, if you want to call it that. But I have a lot of faith in Mike and the reason why he made his decisions, and I stand by him as a council member. Also like to make some personal statements. So I look out at this group here, and since my 20s, I've been involved in the public process. I am totally devoted to public participation. I think it is the thing that separates United States from many other countries of this world. So thank you for coming. As a member of this council, your elected representatives, I do strive to make decisions that are balanced, decisions that take into account the fabric of our community, including all stakeholders, and recognizing the concerns of all those involved. In other words, the people that I see out here, the people I live with in this community. My concern and all that has happened leading up to today is the process that the city has followed. And I've had some problems with this for a long time. I think Capitola City should have taken charge of this process a lot sooner. I see it as a fragmented process. As such, many parts of the process have been sharp, causing pain and division in our community. And I'm not proud of this. I ran for election because I want to do things that make me proud. So at this point, I ask all of you and my fellow councilmen, we have to rise above everything that's happened up to now. And I know that often in life, compromise is the only solution. Compromise works in the long run, and it allows us to move on. And that's what we have to do as a community. Thank you.
Why are you standing there? Why are you
I live right across from the park. That's why I'm standing down.
Just for further clarification, the guidelines that allow us to vote imply that if we live within 500 feet of an affected area, we're not allowed to vote. Those rules changed in the past year, and the distance is now 300 feet. So as Jacques was able to participate in the first process, he was ineligible for the second process. And that's a ruling from the state. Is that fairly accurate, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, under the old rule, there was a 350-foot perimeter around which, outside of which council members could participate in Capitola because it's a small city. The FPPC repealed that rule effective, I think, June 19th of 2015.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right, so. Thank you for that. There's an empty seat in the second row, if somebody'd like that. Okay, I'm going to ask you to silence your cell phones if you can for this hearing. Just try to cooperate. I'm going to go over a few things. First of all, you know, I am dismayed that this is not going to be a five-person decision. Since I've been on this council, this is the fourth year. This is the largest crowd I've seen in here, which means that this matters. And unfortunately, by the laws and the rules of our government, three people will be making that decision tonight. And I guarantee you that we're all going to do the best we can up here to make that decision a positive one. Because we have this large crowd, I just want to go over a couple things. I guess I'm going to say one thing. How many people are intending to come up and speak tonight? By a show of hands. Okay, good. That's fine. That's fine. Great. So I just want to say I want to thank you for all taking the time out of your busy days to come here tonight and participate in this discussion on the skate park at Monterey Park. Everybody here in this room knows that Capitola is a special place. We're a community where if we don't know each other by name, we know each other by sight. It's one of the reasons why just recently, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but we made an announcement that Capitola was voted the seventh happiest seaside town in the nation. Pretty big compliment for our little town. Every one of us up here on the City Council understands that this is a very emotional issue tonight. We value and respect everybody in the room, and we want everybody to have an opportunity to speak. To make that go as smooth as possible, I'm going to set a few ground rules that we haven't probably used before. First of all, I'm going to ask everybody to refrain from applause, cheering, and jeering during this comment period. What I found, and this happens a lot, is that sometimes if you're on one side of the issue or another and the cheering happens, it can be intimidating. And the idea tonight is not to intimidate or make anybody feel awkward in this room. The idea is to let everybody speak what's on their mind. And so we're going to ask you not to make any noise, clapping, cheering. They can make their comment. One thing I feel is that, if you do feel like you are compelled to do something, we're going to allow you to raise your hand as a sign of support. Okay? Just silent, raise your hand. I've seen this done in meetings. Makes you feel like you're participating, and it may give us a look as to where the flow of the room is going. This is a public process, okay? And the way that works is there's going to be a public comment period when you're all going to be allowed to speak, okay? If you ask questions of the council, if you come up and you make a comment about how you feel or your position, that's what it's for. If you pose questions to us, we're not going to respond to those questions. If we find that those questions are pertinent to what's going on tonight, we may write those down. And before we start discussing this, we may bring those questions up and see if any of those need to be answered. But I want you to understand that what this is tonight is a public process and not a debate. Okay, this is going to be your period first to speak and be followed by the council will make a discussion, and then ultimately there'll be a decision. The way this process will work is we're going to ask people to line up on the side where the orange box of the defibrillator is hanging on the wall. Hopefully we don't have to use that tonight. We're going to line up there, and then we're going to bring people up, and we're going to ask you to state your name so we can put it on the record. You do not have to give your name if you don't like to, only if you want it on the record. There's no place to sign in. The city clerk will just be verbally taking your name, so just state it clearly. In an effort to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to speak, what we'd like to say is if you're going to come up and just say what the previous speaker said, you can just say simply, I agree with what that person said. If you feel compelled that you want to come up and speak, that is definitely your right to do that. Some of the ground rules of speaking will be, each speaker will have one opportunity to speak. You cannot give your time to another speaker. And due to the number of people that want to speak tonight, we normally do 3 minutes, but tonight it'll be reduced to 2. Because this is an appeal, we have a process where the first thing we'll hear from is the city staff who will present the project. Upon the completion of the project, the city council may ask questions related to that project. Once that happens, the proponents of the project, in this case 2 of them, will be allowed to share 5 minutes to speak and make their case. At the end of them speaking, the appellants, which there are 2 of them, will be given 5 minutes each to speak. At the end of that 15-minute period, we will open it up to the people in line to speak 2 minutes. Once everybody in the audience has spoke, we will bring it back to the proponents, who will get 3 minutes together to make their closing statements, and then the appellants will each get 3 minutes each to make the last word before we close the public forum. One thing I want to explain tonight is there's a lot of people in the room, and you have to show respect for each other. We have a clock, and sometimes we're a little lenient about the clock. Obviously, tonight is not a good night to be lenient. There's a green light, a yellow light, and a red light. Green light means keep talking, you're good. You're going to get 2 minutes. The yellow light will go on 1 minute into your speaking. Go ahead with the question.
I just wanted to ask, for the time it takes to record your name, that's not being counted in your 2 minutes, is it?
She's not. She's going to start the clock when you start speaking. Okay. Anyway, so when the green light comes on, that means you're speaking and you're okay. The yellow light will mean you have 1 minute left, and what this means is you need to think about wrapping up what you're saying, because when the red light comes on, as a courtesy to everybody in the room, I would like you to finish the sentence you're on, not start a new subject, not ignore the red light. Be courteous to each other. Okay, that's all I'm asking for. Okay, and what we're discussing tonight is tonight the City Council is going to be considering the following items. We're going to be considering the certification of an environmental impact report, often known as an EIR. We're going to be considering the issuance of a conditional use permit to have a skate park. We're going to be considering a design permit, and we're going to be considering a coastal development permit. These items were previously approved by the Planning Commission on a unanimous vote. In addition to those items, the council will also be considering what's called a right of entry agreement and also an indemnification agreement intended to protect the city in the event of any litigation. In a nutshell, the City Council will be deciding tonight if the city is going to move ahead with the Monterey Skate Park. I do not anticipate there will be any more hearings by the City Council on this project. So I look forward to hearing your testimony as we endeavor to make the best possible decision for this community, and you are part of that decision. So with that, we'll begin with the staff report and have the proposed skate park at Monterey Park explained to us. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, members of the public. The subject of a skate park at Monterey Park is a long history in Capitola that goes back to 2006, when the City Council considered potential skate park locations throughout the city, including Monterey Park. The council at that time did not take any action to construct a skate park anywhere in the city. Fast forwarding a bit to 2011, the council had hearings on a proposed 9,000 square foot skate park at Monterey Park. The council declined the 9,000 square foot option, but indicated support for a 6,000 square foot facility should the applicants pursue it. The applicants decided not to pursue the project at that time. In 2013, the council approved a multi-use park on McGregor Drive, which included a 9,000 square foot skate park. During those deliberations, the applicants for the current proposal lobbied the City Council to allow them to submit an application for a 6,000 square foot park at Monterey Park. In February 2015, the council provided that authorization. This past March, the Planning Commission considered the project and approved the permits and certified the EIR. 2 appeals were filed a month later, and then a lawsuit was filed against the city and the applicants by the Friends of Monterey Park, challenging the Planning Commission certification of the EIR and approval of the permits. And that brings us to tonight for the City Council hearing on the appeal. This is a private proposal for approximately 6,000 square foot skate park in Monterey Park, located at 700 Monterey Avenue. The project involves a conditional use permit, a design permit, a non-appealable coastal development permit, certification of the EIR, and a right of entry permit to allow the applicants to construct improvements on public property. Monterey Park is an approximately 4-acre public park that's currently improved with a baseball diamond, a 6 to 8 foot walking path, a 26-space surface parking lot, benches, a water fountain, and fencing and landscaping. Monterey Park currently hosts a number of active park activities, including the New Brighton Middle School, who uses the fields in September through May for various school sports, and PE programs, which are held intermittently daily. There's also a Mid-County Pony Baseball League, which runs between February and March, and then again April through May on Mondays through Saturdays. The Mid-County Youth Soccer Leagues run from August 31st through November on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then throughout the summer, we do lease the space for miscellaneous activities. Monterey Park is zoned public facility park by the zoning ordinance, which does not set any development standards in this zone, such as height, setbacks, parking, or other zoning requirements. The general plan designates the site as parks and open space, and Monterey Park does have an active park designation in both the 1989 general plan and the current general plan. The general plan also includes one policy directly about Monterey Park, which reads that develop Monterey Park as an active park site with neighborhoods serving recreational facilities and amenities. Monterey Park is surrounded by a number of existing land uses, including single-family residences, the New Brighton Middle School, St. Joseph's Catholic Church, and then various multifamily and a mobile home park in the general vicinity. This slide shows the proposed skate park location. It's on the southwest boundary of the park, adjacent to the middle school campus, and the skate park, as proposed, would be oriented in a north-south direction. The project footprint would be approximately 6,811 square feet. This is the area within the fence, which would accommodate a 6,028 square foot skate park. The skate park would feature a concrete bowl with undulating slopes and trick elements. It would be enclosed by a 6-foot-high wrought iron fence and would be designed to serve beginner to intermediate level skaters. The facility could accommodate up to 25 skaters at any one time. There are no special events or competitions proposed as part of this application, and the facility would be subject to existing municipal code rules and regulations for public parks, skate parks, and noise. Some of the project details I'll go through here. This is a slide of the layout of the interior of the park. There's an entrance gate, the 6-foot-high wrought iron fence, a brick-stamped quarter pipe, 2 16-inch railings, a hell curb, manual pads, 2 transition ramps, and 3 concrete banks. This is a 3D model giving you a better idea of some of the features inside of the park, the concrete banks, the quarter pipes and railings, and transition ramps. This vantage point is looking facing towards the east. Flipping around with a west-facing vantage point, you can get another look at some of those interior skate park features. This slide just shows an example of a real skate park and what some of those features would look like with a stamped brick bank, railings, and a quarter pipe. The fencing initially was proposed to be a standard 6-foot wrought iron fence. The applicant has agreed with staff's recommendation, and the Planning Commission confirmed that the fence would be modified to include a curved exterior top so that it would further deter people from entering the park when it's closed. Staff did have an environmental impact report prepared for this project. A public scoping meeting was held on June 30th, 2015. We circulated a draft EIR between November and January of 2016. The environmental impact report found significant impacts to or from noise, hazards, and hazardous materials related to contaminated soils and biological resources. All those identified environmental impacts could be mitigated to below a level of significance pursuant to CEQA. All comments that staff received during the public comment period and staff's responses are included in the final EIR. The final EIR was released to the public on March 17, 2016, and on June 13, 2016, staff released additional EIR information related to alternative site options that we'll go over later in tonight's presentation. There's been a number of project issues raised by concerned members of the public, primarily related to noise, traffic and parking, design and public safety, community character and land use compatibility, soil contamination, biological resources, operating rules and regulations, and park and recreation facility issues. In the forthcoming slides, I'll discuss each of these topics. Probably the most commented issue with the skate park has been noise. It's acknowledged that skate park would introduce a new noise source to the community by skaters arriving and departing the skate park on their boards, skateboards slapping and grinding on hard surfaces while they're using the skate park, and skaters talking and occasionally shouting. Skate park noise could affect nearby land uses, including neighboring residential areas, the middle school campus, and the church. The EIR looked at a number of criteria for evaluating noise, including conformance with our general plan safety and noise element, the noise ordinance of the city's municipal code, and CEQA. The city hired Illingworth and Rodkin Incorporated to do a noise assessment. Their noise assessment included measurements of existing ambient noise, a review and analysis of actual noise generated by other skate parks, and then they modeled that information to predict the anticipated skate park noise levels. To do a noise study, you have to make a number of assumptions. Staff's direction was to do a conservative assumption in its modeling to ensure that noise was not understated in this application. The study considered noise generated by the skate park if it were used at full capacity. The modeling also relied on actual noise data from larger skate parks, which are typically associated with higher noise levels. We also applied additional noise measurement standards to account for brief instantaneous noise events that typically are not used for a use such as a recreational facility. So the noise measurement standards we used were first a CNEL LDN standard. This is a 24-hour average noise measurement. This is our noise element in the general plan, how it describes noise. We also looked at an LEQ standard, which is an average noise level over a specified period of time. And then the other standard we use, which is a little less common, is an LMAX standard, which accounts for those maximum peak noise events, kind of instantaneous noises that people may find to be disruptive or disturbing. The noise studies concluded that the project would result in a 60 decibel the noise element standards in our general plan sets a 60 CNEL level for residential areas, a 70 decibel level for schools and parks. The noise with the skate park, based on the analysis in the noise study, would be between 47 and 52 decibels LDN and 48 to 53 decibels under a CNEL standard. Both of these are below the most restrictive noise element standard of 60 decibels. The city's noise ordinance does not include any quantitative standards for noise. It simply regulates the type of noise, such as leaf blowers, amplified music, and sets allowable hours of construction. Because the skate park would be conditioned to comply with the city ordinances, the project would be consistent with the city's noise ordinance. CEQA also does not identify any quantitative standards for noise, but it does require that noise impacts be identified, avoided, and or mitigated to the extent feasible. The EIR did establish significance criteria. First, if the noise element or noise ordinance with the project would be consistent, and if the project would result in a 5 decibel increase. Based on the modeling done with the noise study, it concluded that the project would exceed the arithmetic average LEQ decibels by up to 7 decibels, and the arithmetic average LMAX by up to 5 decibels. These are considered significant noise impacts, and consequently, mitigation in the form of 6-foot noise walls is a mitigation measure to protect Orchid Avenue residents and school district offices and the staff residents. This figure shows the location of the proposed noise walls for the proposed skate park location. There would be 2 U-shaped noise walls 6 feet high, both on the north and south extremes of the proposed facility. The next issue that we've heard a lot about is traffic and parking. As I mentioned earlier, the zoning code does not set any traffic or parking standards for city park facilities. The city did commission Kimley Horn and Associates to prepare a traffic and parking study which evaluated the current traffic conditions on Monterey Avenue and the surrounding road network. They developed trip generation rates based on available information from similar skate parks and the engineer's professional judgment. The traffic engineer's findings was the project would create 8 new weekday PM peak hour trips and 11 new peak hour trips on weekends. This would not result in a noticeable change to existing traffic volumes on Monterey Avenue or result in a decreased level of service. It would, however, contribute to a failing intersection at Kennedy and Park. As a consequence, the project has been conditioned to make a fair share contribution to a future traffic signal at Kennedy and Park pursuant to the general plan EIR. As it relates to parking, parking on the site is provided through a 26-space surface parking lot, and there are additional parking spaces on the street. The school district brought up an additional concern about the impacts to their parents who use Monterey Park to pick up and drop off their children. The parking findings were that the skate park would create a demand for 6 additional spaces during peak usage of the skate park. Although there would be some impact potentially on parents who use that lot for dropping and picking up their kids, the intent of the parking lot is primarily intended to serve skate park and, just general park users. So the conclusion is parking is adequate on site to accommodate the skate park users and have 20 additional spaces which could serve softball players and park users if each person drove separately to the park. Community character and land use compatibility is another valid concern that many people have had with this project. The zoning and general plan designations, Monterey Park is zoned and designated as an active public park, and a skate park is an active use consistent with an active park designation. The general plan does have a few goals and policies related to recreational facilities and to protect residential neighborhoods. In the zoning code, the City Council, through the permit process, is required to give due regard to the nature and condition of all adjacent uses when making its decisions. And as such, the Council does have the authority to impose conditions in respect to the location, design, siting, maintenance, and operation of a use to protect adjacent properties and the public interest. In terms of the active park, the use characteristics, active recreational uses typically do have nuisance impacts, whether the use is a skate park, a basketball court, swim club, or a tennis facility. They do have noise. They do increase activities to a park. The proposed skate park would be no different. It would increase park activity and would have associated increases with noise, traffic, parking demand, and would introduce new visual features to the park. The question for the Council tonight is, would increased activity from the new skate park be compatible with surrounding residences and the middle school? In terms of the visual and aesthetics of the project, the skate park would displace approximately 6,800 square feet of existing green space. Depending on its location, it may also result in the loss of mature trees. However, the skate park is a relatively low-profile facility and is typically a visually compatible feature with an active park. It's something you would expect to see in an active park. Staff's conclusion is that the skate park would not result in a substantial degradation of the existing visual character of Monterey Park or the surrounding neighborhood. As we went over traffic and parking before, the skate park would generate traffic, however, it would be minimal, and parking for the skate park users could be met on site. Therefore, staff concludes that the skate park is not expected to create a substantial traffic or parking impact to the neighborhood. In terms of noise, I mentioned before, the skate park undeniably would create a new source of noise that would be heard by the surrounding community. Although it's not CEQA significant, it would be audible, and depending on a person's tolerance, it may be objectionable. Nuisance noise, however, can be reduced to some extent with noise barriers and active enforcement, such as not allowing after-hour skating, amplified music, boom boxes, and those types of issues. Staff's opinion is that skate park noise is a valid community character issue, which is a highly subjective, depending on individual sensitivity and tolerance. The next issue I'd like to go over is design and public safety. Some of the issues that have been presented is that the proposed location is not adequately visible for neighbors and law enforcement to monitor, and that lack of visibility could result in vandalism, unlawful activities, and after-hours use. Another public safety concern that's been raised is errant softballs or baseballs being hit into the skate park, which could create a hazard for skaters. To help us evaluate some of those concerns, the City commissioned McAdam Protection Strategies to prepare a crime prevention through environmental design study. They provided several recommendations for design modifications, which both staff and the police chief concur with. And I'll go over some of those briefly. The primary recommendation for this facility is that it have a modified location so that the skate park be shifted closer to the existing parking lot for visibility and public safety. This alternative was identified as the environmentally superior alternative in the environmental impact report and would also have the benefit of reducing noise impacts to residents on Orchid Avenue. On the downside, moving it closer to the street could result in impacts to some of the mature trees that we currently enjoy. This slide shows the optional locations that are before you for consideration this evening. The proposed location further on the south end of Monterey Park, the second option, which runs parallel to the existing parking lot, and a third option in between those two, which is in the area currently occupied by the eucalyptus grove, immediately adjacent to the school district property in kind of an inverted L shape. So the proposed location would have no tree removals. However, it would have poor visibility from the street. As mentioned before, it would require 6-foot-high noise walls to attenuate noise impacts. This alternative would have no impacts to the existing softball field or the walking path. However, it is closer to Orchid Avenue residents and would expose them to increased noise levels. The second option, next to the parking lot, would avoid the eucalyptus grove and would provide excellent visibility. This option would require a larger noise wall, 8 feet tall and approximately 115 feet long, and would require the softball field to be moved approximately 10 feet to reduce the potential for errant softballs to be hit into the skate park facility. It would also include an expanded backstop to again help prevent foul balls from being hit into the facility. The path would be realigned, which could potentially, depending on its exact location, impact a mature alder tree on site. This location would be further away from the school district property and the caretaker residence. However, it would be closer to Monterey Avenue residents across the street. The third option would require the removal of eucalyptus and alder trees. It would provide improved visibility, although not ideal. This option would require a 12-foot tall by approximately 185-foot long noise wall. There would be no impact on the existing softball field, and the walking path would be realigned. It would again be further away from Orchid Avenue, but would be closer to the school district, the caretaker resident, and the Monterey Avenue residences. There were a number of other recommendations in the CEPTED study, including security lighting, being low-pressure bulbs to softly illuminate the skate park and the path, netting or other design features to help prevent errant softballs from entering the skate park, a noise wall designed to be solid material to reduce the expected maintenance of plexiglass, and a double pedestrian gate to facilitate emergency and medical access. CEPTED study also included recommendations that include benches or cube-style seating, an emergency phone, and several other features like rural signage, skateboard and bicycle racks, wood bark ground cover, and trash cans. The next issue that we've encountered with this project is soil contamination. To help us review this issue, we did commission Weber and Hayes to prepare a Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental site assessment, which reviewed the historic uses on the property and included soil testing. The testing detected elevated levels of naturally occurring arsenic, which is common in Santa Cruz County. There was also trace amounts of dieldrin encountered, which was a common pesticide used between 1950 and 1970. We've included mitigation measures to address these issues, including preparation of a soil management plan to be reviewed and approved by the county, and that all excavated materials must either be capped or hauled off-site to an appropriate disposal facility. We did receive a number of comments with concerns about biological resources. Monterey Park is currently occupied by non-native turf grass and has both native and non-native trees. There are no federal, state, or locally listed species that occupy the site. The wildlife that has been detected there is typically urban wildlife, which are highly adaptive to developed settings. There have been sightings of raptors and other birds of prey on Monterey Park. However, raptors forage over large, vast territories, and the loss of approximately 6,800 square feet of foraging area would not represent a significant loss of habitat. Any trees removed for the project would be required to be replaced on-site at a 2-to-1 ratio. There's been a number of concerns raised about the operating rules and regulations should the skate park be approved. As I mentioned earlier, the skate park would be subject to existing city regulations. I won't read them all here. Most of you are familiar with them. But our current code does require that skaters wear protective gear. There's an age limit that you don't bring food and drink in there, and abstain from reckless behavior, and does give the city the ability to close a park if persistent violations occur. Municipal Code 912, the noise ordinance, also applies to the project. This would prohibit the use of loudspeakers, amplified music, PA systems at the park. No loud, boisterous, irritating, or unusual noise would be allowed between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. at the facility, and construction would be subject to the construction hour limits in the ordinance. Code Section 1240 related to public parks would also apply. This requires public parks to be closed from sunset to 6 a.m., meaning the pro skate park hours would be 8 a.m. until dusk, due to the noise requirements in Chapter 9. As I mentioned earlier, the City Council may impose additional rules, regulations, or restrictions to minimize impacts as they see fit. There's been a number of comments regarding park and recreation facility issues. A number of commenters have asked whether the city needs 2 skate parks within a mile of each other. They've questioned whether or not it's a wise use of city funds to take on another skate park and incur the additional maintenance cost. They pointed to the lack of restroom facilities at Monterey Park and the potential impacts of school facilities if kids try to use the school restrooms. Others have noted the lack of comprehensive park facilities master plan and the skate park's impact and loss of passive green open space. There's been concerns about potential impacts to a future expanded soccer field should the skate park be approved, and there's been concerns by the school district of impacts to its PE classes who currently enjoy use of Monterey Park. These issues are all valid concerns. However, they are not addressed by the city's general plan, zoning code, or CEQA. They're primarily budget and policy issues that the City Council must grapple with this evening. So in summary, staff finds that the proposed skate park is an active recreational use, which is consistent with the public facilities park zoning designation. The project is also consistent with the park's open space general plan land use designation and applicable general plan goals and policies. Staff also finds that all environmental impacts can be mitigated to below a level of significance in accordance with CEQA. On March 31st, the Planning Commission voted 5-0 to approve the modified project described in Alternative 1 of the EIR. They did add several conditions of approval, notably that no special events or competitions be held at the facility, that any replacement trees be planted on-site and irrigated until fully established, and that a post-operation noise study be conducted approximately 6 months after the facility is opened, that the applicant would fund that additional noise mitigation if any deficiencies were identified. The Commission also wanted to review the permit after the post-operation noise study was completed. Our recommendation for you this evening is to uphold the Planning Commission decision to certify the EIR and adopt the mitigation, monitoring, and reporting program, and uphold the Planning Commission decision to approve a conditional use permit, design permit, and coastal permit to authorize a modified project as described in Alternative 1 in the EIR. Finally, we recommend that you authorize the city manager to execute agreements related to the project, namely the right of entry agreement and a defense and indemnity agreement. As an update, since the staff report was released, the applicant has agreed to fully indemnify the city. That agreement has been included in your packets as additional material this evening. Staff is available for any questions you may have, and we do have a full complement of staff and consultants who are ready to assist, including Tony Condotti, our city attorney, Steve Jesberg, our public works director, Tom Held, Capitola police captain, Stephanie Strelo, who prepared our EIR, Frederick Venter, our traffic engineer, Michael Thill, the noise specialist who prepared the noise study, and Wade McAdam, our crime prevention specialist, who prepared the SEPTED study. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. That was a great presentation. Questions?
I have a couple of things.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Rich, which option did the Planning Commission choose for its location?
So the Planning Commission just generally directed the applicant to modify the location of the skate park so that it would be closer to the parking lot. From staff's perspective, either option 2 or option 3 is consistent with that alternative as described in the EIR.
Excuse me, so there's no questions from the public? Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question of Tom Held. Is Tom back there, please?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council.
Can you address sightline and viewing of the park at either option number 2 or 3?
Option 2 and 3, it's going to be a better sight of line for officers driving by and city staff like Public Works. It's also going to be a better line of sight for members of the public who can report any situation that we may need to respond to. Option 3, there is going to be, it's going to be a little bit blocked by the district office, whereas option 2 it's more open because of the parking lot. But there are trees in the front there off of Monterey Avenue.
And you have officers on a daily basis in that area, is that correct? Because when the school's in session, don't you have officers up in the area of the park? Is that?
When school's in session, we usually have them there in the morning, and when school's out, based on their availability, yes.
Okay, I don't know if you hold this, Tom, but how many times a day would you say an officer goes down Monterey Avenue on a normal basis now before the park is there?
I would guess on a school day, probably more than a weekend or during the summer, but our corporation yard is off Kennedy, so I would guess a 24-hour period, 5 to 10 times.
5 to 10 times? And would it be a practice if the park was put in there to actually take a loop through the parking lot, or you would still just keep the same practice of going down Monterey?
No, that would be an area where we would focus more on, because that's going to invite more people to be in that area.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Any other questions, Dennis?
I'm fine, thank you.
Stephanie, have any questions? Can you bring up on option 3, is there a detail that shows where that 12 by 185 foot wall is?
So I don't know if it's large enough to really see. It's right on the property line. So if you can see the western extreme of the facility in that diagram would be a few feet off of that.
Okay, so I guess my question would be, the wall is a straight wall that just runs on the property line. There is no wall that runs parallel with Monterey Avenue.
That's correct. It would just be on the property line.
Okay, and on option 1, there was a sound wall on I'm going to call like in the end zones on either one. Go back to 1. I'm just wondering if the noise levels, that noise level there, where was that noise level causing the most impact on the end closest to Monterey? I guess one knows, why was that wall there for? Was that for the school offices? Was that for the trailer?
The southern one was to protect residents on Orchid Avenue. The northern one was to protect the school district property.
Okay, and that going back to option 3, the continuous wall would accomplish the same thing.
It's only for the school district property because in that alternative, it's far enough away from Orchid Avenue that there wouldn't be a significant noise impact to those residents.
And likewise with Monterey.
Correct.
Great, thank you. That's my only question. No other questions before I open it up to the public? Okay, we're going to go ahead and line up. I do have one anomaly in the procedure here. We're going to have the appellants and the proponents speak first. The proponents can come up first. They're going to speak. But we have this thing on our website that we discovered that allows people to register to speak. And it's not a process we're going to continue to use, but because one individual did happen to use it, I'm going to allow that one person to, this is like a DMV reservation that nobody knew about, okay? So I hope you can bear with me, but somebody figured it out. They registered online, so after the proponents and appellants speak, this one individual can speak. And Henry, you're the lucky guy, okay? That's why you're smiling over there. So we'll begin with the proponents, which could come up. Yes, Marie and Tricia, thank you. And I want you to understand you're going to get 5 minutes between the two of you. And the yellow light, I have no idea when it's going to come on. So will it be 1 minute before the end? So the yellow light will be with 1 minute to go? Okay, so that's what you do. Okay, so go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tricia Proctor. Marie Martorella. And first off, we'd like to thank the mayor, council staff, and our supporters for all their time, patience, listening, reading, meeting, and research. While it seems a bit repetitive, we will give a quick snapshot of where we are currently. We were happy to prepare the appropriate reports and spend the extra time necessary to ensure there were no surprises as we move through this process. We were pleased to see the EIR adequately addressed many of the concerns mentioned in previous letters, and that location, traffic, noise, habitat, parking, hazardous emissions, drainage, and aesthetics were all vetted out as no significant unavoidable impacts. In addition, we took the findings from the EIR, incorporated modifications based on the information that came from the EIR, and have updated the drawings with the alternative locations you see tonight. As a reminder, the original design was 9,000 square feet. At council's direction, we were asked to make the skate park smaller to approximately 6,000 square feet. The sizes are documented in the minutes of these meetings, and we have remained consistent within those parameters. This project garners more and more support every day, as you see in the overwhelming in-support letters. In fact, due to the recent press and social media articles, we have had a large amount of phone calls, emails, private messages from people who have asked, how can they help? We have had neighbors who at one time been concerned about the project say they support this project and have been pleased to see all of the concerns and issues of noise, etc., reviewed, analyzed, and mitigations available. As noted during the planning meeting, the population of children under 14 is roughly 15% in our community. I think we hear most of them outside. Monterey Avenue is a mixed-use neighborhood with lots of families who use the park, neighboring school facilities, and tend to 2 churches. We want this park to complement the neighborhood and be a feature that is centrally located, family-oriented, and enjoyed by all. The goal of our project is to bring our community together, and what a better place than Monterey Park.
We have tried to steer clear of the false, misleading information that has been circulating and remain transparent in the presentation you see this evening. We do feel it's very important to correct a couple of things. And first, no, we are not trying to develop Jade Street Park, nor is the city asking the district to move their offices. This was a very false and deceitful attempt at packing the chamber this evening. The president of the Parent Teachers Association has also confirmed their union never made our project an issue. We are pleased to be here at the finale to this wonderfully received project. The gift, while generous in its monetary capacity, really is a gift that generations to come will be able to use. The ability to do this project now and for those future generations is something you cannot put a price tag on. In the end, the children will remember all of the support, all of the time and effort and generosity of the many who made sure this project had all the components of success. Everything that has been done was all about the children in the community, and that is what matters most, because it truly is all about the kids. Their safety, their ability to access, use, enjoy, and create memories that will last a lifetime. We cannot thank our uncle, Richard Novak, enough for his generosity and overall support throughout this process. He has worked very hard to become successful and wants to give back to the community he grew up in. We brought with us tonight many supporters that you see behind us, and I am going to ask, can we please see a silent show of hands for those who are here tonight to support the project? Thank you. We also have brought with us tonight Danielle Scott from Dreamland Skate Parks, who is the park designer, and she is also available for any questions you may have. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll bring up the appellants. There are 2. There is Richard Lippy, and there is Friends of Monterey Park. So whoever wants to come up first. We'll be given 5 minutes each.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff. Yes, my name is Richard Lippy, and I live on Monterey Avenue. My house is in one or two of these drawings over here. I have to say that I'm not in a comfortable position being in such a negative atmosphere here, but I feel that I have to say my piece. I'm opposed to the proposed skate park at Monterey Park. I'm appealing approvals of the Capitola Planning Commission given on March 31st, 2016, as the project that they discussed on March 31st was not the project that was represented to the general public and subsequently approved for submittal by the City Council on February 11th, 2015. And there were no drawings or specifications submitted for review on March 31st reflecting the project that the Planning Commission approved. Additionally, no one knew after the March 31st meeting where the relocated skate park would end up or what the final configurations would be. The revised location of the proposed skate park was not laid out prior to the Planning Commission meeting, so the general public could not offer any feedback on those locations. There was no landscape drawing offered for the relocated skate park. I feel this is a significant omission in taking into account that option number 3, I think it is taking out those eucalyptus groves. The skate park project that was represented to the City Council and to the general public on February 11, 2015, was for a project area of 6,000 square feet. The project submitted and subsequently approved by the Planning Commission was for 6,811 square feet. This is an important controversial aspect of this project. The Planning Commission never discussed removing noise-producing features of the skate park. Instead, the discussion centered on noise barriers, which in themselves bring other problems. The Planning Commission did not address my concern that skateboard noise can be heard 700 feet from the Performing Arts Center to Monterey Park. The reverse is likely to be true, affecting educational environment of New Brighton Middle School. In conclusion, I'd like to say that I was genuinely surprised and disappointed in the lack of attention the Planning Commission gave to resolving the important issues of this highly controversial project. I feel the Planning Commission has passed the buck to the City Council without due diligence being exercised within the Planning Commission purview. Below is a quote from, I'm going to read a quote from Commissioner Linda Smith that illustrates my expectations of the Planning Commission process. And this is from time mark 2 hours, 40 minutes, 50 seconds of the video. After Commissioner Westman suggested sending an undefined project package on to the City Council so they could deal with that, Commissioner Smith commented, and I quote, "I hear what you're saying, but Council relies on us for, I think, to do a lot of the detail work. And my fear is that if it just goes to them, it's going to have a conceptual kind of an approval. And I think that the details are much more important. And that's why I think the details should come back to the Planning Commission, because that's the sort of what we're charged to do. I hope you will see that the proposed skate park needs a great deal of consideration before proceeding. Please send this project back to the Planning Commission without approval." And I'd like to see a silent show of hands of those people in the audience that are opposed to the skate park in Monterey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. I'm going to assume you're from Friends of Monterey Park.
Yes, you
Thank
are
you.
correct. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Pearl Khan of Whitworth Parkin, and I represent the appellant Friends of Monterey Park. I know that many residents here today are here to share how this project would affect their lives, and so I want to focus my comments specifically on the legal inadequacies of the EIR before you. Is my mic on? I believe it is.
No, it's working. You're fine.
Okay, great. And so I'll start with the draft EIR. And the draft EIR deferred analysis of the environmental impacts associated with the alternatives. And I know that staff is presenting that the options before you are part of Alternative 1, but in fact, when the draft EIR was circulated, Alternative 1 was not a concrete alternative. It was simply proposed a range of options within an alternative on-site location for the proposed location. And so the public, as Mr. Libby astutely observed, had really no way to discern what the ultimate impacts of the Alternative 1 might be. In fact, if you go back and look at draft EIR, it's a lot of, could be, would be language, and it was uncertain at the time, whether trees would be cut down or what exactly the noise impacts were. And so when the final EIR came around, there was no cure either, because the final EIR simply did not make any, changes to the alternatives analysis. And I'll pause here just to talk about the importance of the alternatives analysis in CEQA. It's the heart of CEQA. It's what people rely on to think about the project, the proposed project, in a larger context. And so it's imperative that everybody have all the information before them prior to any decision is made. And, the courts call that avoiding a post hoc rationalization, avoiding coming to a decision and then making rationalizations for why that decision is the best one. And so But in fact, that's exactly what happened here. The options that were presented to you tonight, option 1, option 2, option 3, they were not before the public, nor were they before the Planning Commission. The first time that the public ever heard about option 1 and option 2, and I will note that option 3 was not even presented in the additional materials that was circulated for the first time 10 days before this hearing. And it was not known what those options were prior to only 10 days before this hearing, that renders this EIR process procedurally defective, because not only did the draft EIR defer alternatives analysis, but in fact, under the CEQA guidelines, all significant impacts, new significant environmental impacts, must be recirculated prior to certification, which is not what happened here. The Planning Commission certified the EIR, and then the staff, alongside with the consultants, prepared an additional material that was circulated months after the certification, and that is contrary to the CEQA guidelines. And so for that reason, that's the procedural deficiency we see here with the alternatives analysis, and the public was not able to really consider what the alternative 1 actually is. And we see now that alternative 1 is actually 3 different alternatives. It's option 1, option 2, and option 3, and the public was not apprised of what those options and what the impacts of those options were until 10 days before today. And that goes to the second issue of the substance of the reasonable range of alternatives that was proposed. Given the discussion pertaining to the possibly incompatible land uses surrounding this proposed project, at the draft EIR level, there was only one off-site alternative location proposed, and the rest all had to do with on-site alternatives. And from a CEQA perspective, that is just simply not a reasonable range of alternatives, given the fact that there are all these competing land use interests within the subject site. And so it's our position that the range of alternatives should have been expanded to comply with CEQA. And so finally, the last point is also a procedural issue, but it has to do with the fact that the Planning Commission certified the EIR, and now it's on appeal. The appellants had to appeal the decision when what CEQA requires is for the final decision-making of the final decision-making body to independently certify the EIR. That means the City Council was supposed to independently certify the EIR, and there was no need procedurally for an appeal. And so for those reasons, the City Council should not certify the EIR, nor should it approve the project. Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation. Okay, with that, we're going to open up the public process. And as I explained earlier, our DMV registered party, Mr. Castaneda, will speak for 2 minutes. 2 minutes will be given to everyone from the public. So welcome, Henry. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and staff. In a letter dated January 5th, 2016, to Mr. Gano regarding the original design of the skate park, I listed many student concerns that have not been addressed. And the reason they have not been addressed is they were not the focus of the RIR report. I'm hoping before a decision is made that members of the council will review the traffic study that hopefully was conducted regarding the congestion that exists on Monterey Avenue between 210 and 250 4 days a week. During this time period, which is 40 minutes, there are hundreds of cars and hundreds of students leaving a very congested area at the conclusion of the school day at New Brighton Middle School. Since student safety is our highest priority, creating a skate park that will increase our challenges in traffic congestion is a major concern for the Office of the Superintendent. The Office of the Superintendent is responsible for the daily operations of the school. I am not representing viewpoints from our Board of Trustees. This year, unfortunately, a car struck a middle school student, and I was informed that the student was in the crosswalk, and then due to the traffic congestion, the driver did not see the student in time. The proposed area where the skate park is being considered is a congested parking lot during the release time of the middle school students. if a traffic study has not been conducted regarding the congestion that occurs on Monterey Avenue from 210 to 250, 4 days a week. I'm hoping that the members of the City Council will direct appropriate staff to conduct a 2-week traffic study during the month of September. I do believe that the information that you obtain from this study will validate the district's concern in the area of student safety. I thank you for considering my request.
Thank you very much, Henry. Appreciate that. Hi, Judy.
Hello, good evening. My name is Judy McGooden, and I'm the president of the Soquel School Board. Henry spoke previously about operational issues. I am here simply in response to a flyer that went around that needs a lot of clarification and rebuttal. Apparently, a 2-page flyer showed up at a few homes in the community. I'm not sure exactly where. It states the issues correctly. It states the fact that Jade Street Park is owned by the school district. This is true. What is really wrong is that this is a threat somehow to Jade Street Park by having the skate park developed at Monterey Park. There has never been a discussion about moving district office to Jade Street Park. We don't have the money to do that. We would never, ever consider it. The school board didn't take a stand on this issue, and it's not because we have a policy in place that does not allow us to participate in land use discussions pertaining to the land that's owned by another entity than the school district. It's simply that in public, we decided to say neutral. This is the city's property. The city gets to decide what's the best use for that property. Do we have operational concerns? Yes. Is it the role of our board to tell you what to do with your own property? No. I'm here to tell you that the balance, most of this flyer is incorrect, and it's particularly important because we passed a resolution that we are going to put a bond measure on the November election, and we need the support of this community. We need the people that are here tonight, the students, the parents, to support us in this bond issue, which does not fund a district office at Jade Street, nor does it fund a new school at Jade Street. What it does is replace horrible portables at our school sites with modular buildings that are going to be a lot healthier and more conducive to learning. Please don't let this flyer dissuade you from supporting that. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
How you doing tonight?
Great.
Thank you for getting the Monty Skate Park open. Great park. Kids have been over there. They're not skating in parking lots, which makes me happy. I will make a suggestion. We need to get some redwood trees planted up there for some shade because we're going to have heat stroke if we don't, because it's very hot there. So congratulations on getting that park open. Like I said before, I built that park, the Monterey Park, and I'm the one who molded all those mounds around the eucalyptus trees and all that stuff. And this skate park can be built so you can not even see it. I mean, you can import dirt, you can make mounds, you can, avoid trees. I don't see anything in the way. As far as the congestion after school, I pick kids up there every day. I won't have to go over there because they can just go straight to the skate park. So it helps me out. So let's get this thing done.
Thank you for your comments. And I want to thank the audience for participating in the hands, okay? I think I'm commending you for that. I appreciate it.
Hi, Chris Bowman, Orchid Avenue. I looked at the markings for the 3 options at the park, and I was surprised because it's really big. I didn't expect it to be that big. This wasn't a fit in 2012, and it's not a fit now. And it's actually because it wasn't a fit that we have a skate park in Capitola now. Skaters love McGregor Park. It's not perfect, but it's really good. And it's way better than no skate park. But the proposers wanted no skate park if they couldn't have their skate park. They wanted to stop McGregor from being built. Luckily, city leadership saw the need and answered the call for skaters. They ignored the foot stomping, stubborn fixation on this location and built an even bigger skate park. Thank you. Opposition to this Monterey Park proposal is growing as people learn more about it. Opposition has always been about this location not being a fit for this size and this design. This design may be beautiful, but it doesn't fit at this location. Now at 6,800 square feet, it's even less of a fit. The design is perfectly inviting to high school age and adult skaters. Why would you build something that attracts older teens and adult men to a middle school? This isn't a fit. Misleading people and dividing people won't make it a fit. Saying Cliffwood Heights is not a real neighborhood won't make it a fit. These are beautiful people. This has been horrifically divisive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Mortar. I live on Unipero Court. And I have the most issues with this whole process. The location of a skateboard should be based on the best interests of the whole community. The skaters, the neighbors, the residents, the employees, the students. And we have a beautiful example of true philanthropy over at McGregor, where the Monty Foundation said, here's the money. You decide the appropriate location. You decide the appropriate size and design. And then we have a more self-serving philanthropy by the Novak Group. And what they said was, we'll give you the money, but you build this park where we tell you to build it. We will dictate the size and the design. We will tell you that the neighbors think it's great, and you will believe us. No stakeholders besides the donor and the city will be allowed in this discussion. And furthermore, since people are saying we don't need 2 skate parks, we want you to stop building the one over there at McGregor. And, you know, they got 4 of their demands. And cooler heads prevailed, and they didn't get the 5th demand to stop building the park at McGregor. And like Chris said, this is a 6,800 square foot park that is very, very similar to the one over at McGregor. It's more convenient for the parents, but it will still attract adult men right next to a middle school. And there's a reason that high school and middle school campuses are at completely separate locations. So I ask you to please vote no on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Stephanie Tedder. I've written to all of you on multiple occasions with my concerns about this proposal. Thank you, Councilmember Harlan, for your courteous response to my letter. The original agenda packet included a petition with 5 full pages of signatures of residents opposed to the proposal. And in that original agenda packet, there were just over 140 letters. Fully 2/3 of those letters expressed opposition to the proposal. I know that some things have come in subsequent to that original packet, but I didn't have time to read all of those. In the original agenda packet, there were fewer than 50 letters in favor of the proposal. And I found it interesting that more than half of those were sent to the council by one of the proponents. In other words, they didn't come to you directly from the community. In addition, several of the letters in the packet were from people who are obviously not familiar with the proposal because they thought the park was designed for beginning level skaters. And the EIR clearly mentions intermediate level skaters. Also, several of the letters that were ostensibly in support of a skate park in Monterey Park were from people who were clearly not aware that Capitola has a skate park, the Monty Family Skate Park at McGregor, which most of us who live in Cliffwood Heights fully supported. And yes, as Chris said, Cliffwood Heights is a neighborhood, contrary to the stated opinion of a member of the Planning Commission. I would like to thank the city and the city staff very much for all the time you've spent on this issue, and I'm opposed to the skate park in Monterey Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Terry Tedder, Junipero Court. Chris Bowman, previous speakers have saved me some time. Okay, I have a career of 18 years as a middle school teacher. I'm very familiar with middle school children, and as anyone who's a parent of a middle school girl knows, middle school girls' emotional development outpaces that of their middle school male counterparts, and they don't find the kind of satisfactory emotional commitment from these young boys as they do from older boys and young men. So a bunch of middle school girls leaving middle school at the end of the day, walking by the skate park, and I think we've already established that a skate park this size is not for little kids. It's one of the drops in the proposed skate park is 6 feet. The one in McGregor, the biggest drop is only 5 feet. So this is going to be even more attractive to the same kind of young adult males that cause a lot of problems in my middle school, coming around in their cars every day, trying to get all the 8th grade girls into their cars, many times successfully. So I would ask you, please do not pass this thing in this location, in this size. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I just first want to thank you guys for approving this park and suggesting this location, because I've been involved with the Capitola Skate Park since this began 25 years ago. I like the location. I think it's great. The former city attorney told me that McGregor's for sale, and if I could be told that it's never going to be sold and it's going to be a park forever, that would change things. But I was told that that's a commercial piece of property that is for sale, and that's not a park. That's a commercial piece of property. I'm building a skate park behind my building tomorrow for the Pleasure Point Street Fair on a commercial lot, temporary park. I think the park at Monterey Avenue is a permanent park. I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's for future generations. We're all going to be dead, and the skate park is still going to be there, being enjoyed by kids. I also take really affects me that we're trying to make skateboarding creepy. It's not. The people who skateboard are good people. They get straight A's in school, they're athletes, and they have great families. And I really do not like it being talked about like it's a creepy group of people. It's not. It's your neighbors, your kids, your brothers, and they're having a good time being outside and active. And if you want to get creepy, stick them on a computer. Let's get them outside. Thank you.
Let's try to hold the applause. You're doing really good. I know it's tempting, okay? Hands, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brad Oates. I live on Balboa Avenue in the Cliffwood Heights neighborhood. I'm 35. I have a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old. I have skateboarded for over 30 years. Some of the discussions in this room I am appalled by. My 95-year-old grandmother loves skateboarding. What we're trying to do here, you'd be surprised by what people are saying, because what we're trying to do here is build a small privately funded skate park for our youth. We're just trying to give our youth more recreational opportunities. Monterey Avenue Park has been there for many years. I've lived in Cliffwood Heights for almost a decade. I've seen that park underused, underserviced. It just sits there. I know the residents around it like it that way, okay? Okay, my kids play in the Capitola SoCal Little League. We use that occasionally. But besides that, the park just sits there. This is a great opportunity to do that with the park, okay? People across the country would, this is privately funded. The Coca-Cola Corporation, people look for grants all over the country to get skate parks built. This is not that big of a deal. It's a small skate park. It will be used by the youth, my kids, our kids. It's just more youth recreational opportunities. I don't think this would be that big of a deal if it was tennis, baseball, football, stuff like that. So thank you for all your support. Thank you for supporting this project. And the kids are going to love this skate park. So thank you.
My name is John. My mother lives on Junipero Court, and we're against it for traffic. For the church, we already have traffic, and for the school, we have traffic, and for the safety of the area. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, guys. Keith Cahalan, I live in Washburn. I just have 3 questions and 3 statements. Question number 1 is, how many people are supporting the skateboard park? Okay, how many people live in Capitola? No, that are supporting it. Okay, there's my first issue. Because basically I'm here for you guys' electoral responsibility. The second thing is, I'd like you to please ask the police department how they plan on managing this, because multiple times I drove by McGregor before it was even opened, and there were 6 to 8 skateboarders there with the construction tape already up and still going through and skateboarding on the park when it wasn't legally open at that particular point in time. My statements are, number 1 is, I'm a little surprised at the sound study, because if those guys apparently didn't reference the 40 or 50 years of studies on all the concrete walls for the freeways, and it's true, it mitigates the immediate impact, but they've proven over the years now that sound gets mitigated to 200 to 500 feet beyond the freeway. So I'd like to see that the sound study gets revised that way. Okay. The second thing is, why I totally agree that most skateboarders I know are great and stuff. I'm honestly not concerned about them. I'm concerned about the older guys and stuff like that show up and are utilizing the facility and so on and so forth. And then finally, I think the real crux is, with regard to your electoral responsibility, I think if you guys approve the park, then we'll just have to let the voters of Capitola decide whether they want to do it or not. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
My name is Don Sanders. I live on Nipro Court. My son lives across the street from me, right next to the park. He couldn't be here tonight because he's out of town on business. I only have a few comments. I'll try to keep it short. Number 1, your record on about the park, history of it. It omitted one thing. There was once a compromise. The people up in the area there weren't happy about it, but they agreed to a 3,000 square foot park. But the skating people didn't want that. So there was a compromise at one time. We could have lived with that, wouldn't have liked it, but we could have lived with it. Everybody that lives right close to the area there are a few people who are for the park, but most of the people up in that area there are not for the park. Take a survey. Go up there. Take a survey. Go house to house. Okay, that's one comment. Second comment is, you got the park down there at McGregor. Why can't you just wait, give it a year, see how it works out, see what kind of problems you end up with it, if any, and handle those. That may be all we really need, rather than put another permanent structure over here right by my house. I know the kids need a place to play. I spent 10 years in youth sports in the San Diego area when I was in the Navy. I grew up here in Santa Cruz. My family moved here in 1941. I moved in Capitola in 1978. And I have not only raised the 3 boys that I have, one of them was a police officer in Santa Cruz, retired now. I have 7 grandkids and 7 great-grandkids. So I do like kids. But there are proper places for them. And I don't think that's a good place for them. It was too disruptive for the neighborhood and the people that live there. Thank you very much for my time.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate that.
I'm Harry Guy. I live at 729 Monterey, and I support Don. We're neighbors, and I'm concerned. Brian Stowe lives right across from where this project's going in, and I don't think this is fair for his family either. So anyway, I oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul. I grew up at 308 Park Avenue, which is considered the Cliffwood Heights neighborhood. I'm in support of the skate park. I'm not asking for a skate park as a skateboarder. I'm working really hard to stay in Capitola and be a part of the community. And I hope that one day when I get a chance to have a family, if that day comes, that there is places like this for my kids to go and for me to share my passion's with them in a safe place like a skate park rather than on the street. There was nowhere for me to skateboard growing up on Park Avenue, busy street, lots of cars, never had anywhere to go. 2 buses to get across town to go to the only skate park that was available to me. I just hope that we can take advantage of the opportunity that we have in front of us and build the park for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Joey. Hi, Ben.
Good evening. My name is Joey Miller. I'm a resident here in Capitola. I was born and raised in Santa Cruz. This is my son, Benjamin. I just want to say I'm in support of the skate park. I grew up surfing and skating here in Santa Cruz, played traditional sports as well. I still skateboard, though not as much as I used to. I just turned 47, but old guys still can skate. Apparently there's something against old guys in this room, but I'm here to tell you that we're not all creepy. It's been a privilege to be not only a mentor to my son and teach him how to surf and skate, but we play traditional sports as well. We actually just finished up our last baseball game yesterday, playing the TOC's Capital SoCal. Unfortunately, we lost the Majors Division TOC title, but just want to say that we want to say a big thank you to Tricia and Marie and Richard for spearheading this whole skate park.
Joey, closer to the mic. Okay.
And I just want to say this is really an opportunity for the city to positively affect future generations of our kids, and that's really what this is all about. That's why I'm here. At some point, my kids will hopefully have the kids of their own, and they'll have some place where they can say, hey, I was a part of this. We've been coming to these meetings every chance we get and speak out in support of it. And I just want to say that I would not advocate for anything that would bring any kind of dangerous element. Skaters are good kids. They grow to be good adults. I skated down here with my son tonight. I was feeling lazy. I was going to drive down. I was tired after work. My son said, hey, let's skate down there, show our support. So here we are. I just want the council to know, just as reference, I'm also a probation officer here in Santa Cruz County. I'm not going to advocate for anything that's going to cause any undue harm to my community. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. Appreciate it. Hi, welcome.
Hello. Yeah, good evening. My name's Sean. I live on Orchid Avenue, right behind the proposed skate park, and I am an advocate for it and in favor. I feel that originally I was opposed to the McGregor Park. I wasn't really excited about it, but after seeing what's going on there, I'm really happy it went in. I think it's going to be a huge benefit to the new skate park proposed at Monterey, because McGregor is so off the beaten path. There is really nothing out there. It's going to really draw a lot of the kids that want to go and take the risk of trying to do this or that, our neighbors in our community that live in the Monterey Park area are scared of. And I think it's really going to take that element away from Monterey. I know there's a lot of families like myself that would love to go and enjoy Monterey Park, McGregor Park, but McGregor Park's not a spot where a parent's going to want to go and hang out. There's no spot there to take your children, the smaller kids, to go and spend time with the other family members while your kid skateboards. I know at Monterey Park that's being proposed, I live right behind it. I go there every day, and there is such a beautiful area to hang out with my daughter who wants to play on the jungle gym, my dog, go walk and run in the park, go lay down in the grass. It's a beautiful spot to hang out. I will spend time there. I also work from home, and I will definitely be around every single day. I'm not going to say I'm going to patrol it myself, but I definitely take my dog on a walk. My wife goes on a walk regularly through the neighborhood, and we're going to have eyes on it. And I know that if there's a park that is going to be enjoyable by not just the skaters, but the families that come with it, they're going to want to spend time there as well. And those are going to be the eyes that everyone in this community that's opposed to it are concerned of. I also want to quickly ask a raise of hands. All those that are opposed to the skate park, how many of the people, please raise your hands, that have children that are at home right now with you, that are living at home? Please raise your hands that if you're opposed to it, how many that have children at home? That's my point exactly, is that this park is about the future of our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to read because I'm really nervous.
Just get close to the microphone. I understand that.
Okay.
Do you want to tell us who you are?
My name's Tessa Tutman. I live on Orchid Avenue. I live right behind Monterey Park. I hear the kids every day. I'm right there.
Go ahead and read.
We live on Orchid Avenue, right behind Monterey Park. There are many families in our neighborhood who support the proposed Monterey Skate Park, most of which who have young children living at home. Skateboarding is a positive sport that our family really enjoys. It is healthy, active, and keeps our kids outside and off of their screens. I agree that Monterey Park is underused. I use the park every single day with my family. The skate park is a gift that our community should embrace. Our 7th grader, he left, and his friends they're afraid to go to McGregor Park because of the location and how dangerous it is to get to the park. They've gone twice. They won't go back. And these are good kids. They get good grades. They play sports and they stay out of trouble. A lot of them are outside. A lot of them are sitting here. It seems to me that most of the people who are in favor of the park have children, and most of the people who oppose it do not have children living at home. I think the Capitola Skate Park on Monterey is an awesome, well-researched project, and I look forward to the day that my family can skate there and all the people that come to visit us in our beautiful town can do that too.
Thank you for your comments.
My name's Andy Forget. I'm a citizen in Capitola. I live on Monterey Avenue. I vote. I will not vote to re-elect anybody that votes for a second park.
You speak closer, Andy, so we can hear you. Yeah, just you have to be real close.
So I'm a resident of Capitola. I live on Monterey Avenue. I'm a voter. I will not vote to re-elect anybody that wants to have a second skate park in Capitola.
Thank you.
My name is Dawn Morrow, and I live on Kennedy Avenue. I'm opposed to the skate park that we're talking about tonight for the reasons that a lot of them have already been mentioned. We have a skate park that's less than a mile away. If people are, worried about getting there safely, or for some reason they're afraid of it, I'd like to know a little bit more about the fears. Perhaps we could spend money to make it safer to get to, if that's one of the concerns. That seems like it would be a more reasonable decision to make. It is not centrally located in Capitola, and most of the people that are here in support of the skate park do not live near the skate park. And I have nothing against kids. I have nothing against skateboarding. I think it's great. I think all forms of exercise are great, including people being able to play baseball. I'd also like to mention that the skate park's already cost me about $1,000 because I am the one that got hit in the hand when looking at the proposed skate park. I'd also like to mention there's a real lack of transparency in terms of what is this project actually going to look like. And I believe it serves a narcissistic few, and I believe it sends the wrong message that private donors can buy votes for projects that the public that is very local to it does not approve. Thank you for your time and service.
Thank you.
Green.
She'll start once you start talking.
Hi, my name is Nicole Conley, and I live about a block and a half away from Monterey Park, right at Kennedy and Monterey. I have an 11-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old son. Both are skaters. My 14-year-old son is loving McGregor, but there's no water fountain, and he pretty much has to play Frogger with the cars right now. And he said to me, Mom, I can't even skate there. Maybe I should ride my bike then skate? He can't figure it out because it's so unsafe. Then I have my 11-year-old daughter who won't go over there. And so I know that Monterey Park would be perfect for her. And I know that all the parents in our neighborhood are not opposed to this park. So that's why I'm in favor of it. And this community needs more things for kids. They need to be active. It's not Sun City West. It's Capitola, and we have families here. And we need to think about our kids and our families. Not only our, folks who are retired, I get it. Skateboard parks, They make noise of kids playing. When I hear noise of skateboard wheels down the street, I'm like, there's another kid having a good time. I'm not thinking of perverts. I'm thinking of kids, and that's what these kids are doing. They need a place that has eyeballs on them, that is in the center of our community, that's right next to a middle school where there are lots of kids all the time. If you live by a middle school and a church and a park, things are going to change, and the park is supposed to be for everybody, not just for the people who live next to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Next, come on up. Thank you for waiting.
Hi, my name is Danielle Scott, and I am the designer in Dreamland Skate Parks of the skateboard park. I've vacationed here with my family for over 10 years, and we have been fortunate enough to be actively involved for over 5 years in the community involvement with skateboarders and surfers, many long hours, weeks, months, and now years, collecting, gathering input, comments, and creating positive movement towards making the skate park a reality. The location of the skate park has been sensibly placed in a safe, accessible, visible city park area. Over 60% of the public skate parks being planned over the next 3 years are being placed in multi-use parks, near schools, churches, and in neighborhoods for safe accessibility for our youth and families. We are fully aware that there's a skate park less than 1 mile, which is not planned to be a long-term permanent location of a park, but adheres to a more intermediate and advanced skater. Our park design complements this. It is amazing to have 2 parks in a community, but our park is designed for the beginner and maybe advanced beginner skater between the ages of 6 and 14. We are open to modifying the size if necessary, depth of the bowl, and hard features if requested in the design, as we have been flexible, sensible in the placement and orientation and design of the park. I would like to say that in 26 years of building skate parks all over the world, we have never witnessed a continuing opposition to skate park, providing youth with a safe place to skate. And refreshing and extremely hopeful note to that worldwide, we will be the first builder that has ever built a skate park that is privately funded and gifted to their community. And for that, we are extremely honored, and thank you, Richard Novak, for doing this, and the Capitola Skate Group for staying positive, professional, passionate, and driven. Our goal is just to build a skate park for the youth.
You did good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just real quick, just by show of hands, is there anybody that has a problem with Brian coming up and speaking next? Raise your hand if you have a problem with that. Thank you. Come on up, Brian. With me? No, it's okay. I just want to. It was a test of the crowd. You all passed. Okay. Thank you.
I haven't even said anything yet.
I just want to know that you. Yeah, but you get to come up. That's what it was about. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Brian Stowe. Last name S-T-O-W, and I was injured at a Giants-Dodger game and got messed up there. I have 2 forms of sleep apnea, and it's hard for me to sleep. So I try to sleep sometimes during the day. I'll get 2 hours at night, and that's it. I am strongly opposed to the skate park going in. Opposed. Strongly. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Brian. Appreciate it.
Nice. Thank you.
Mayor, council members, my name is Gillian Greenside, and there's no debate that some people really want a skateboard park, and the only question really is this a good site for it? And while I think you have a difficult decision, I would think that placement of any sporting facility should come with the strong support of the whole community. And this is obviously very divided and very divisive. It would seem to me that this is not the appropriate place, just on that alone. However, when I looked at all of the mitigations that you have to do to try and address sound, safety, closeness to the school, traffic, the neighborhood impacts, 6 feet walls, 12 feet walls, 125 feet long, moving the baseball diamond, etc., etc. It seemed to me the evidence just grew that this is not the right place. I try and save trees throughout the county of Santa Cruz, and I was really disturbed when I heard that it's possible, and I still don't know which formulation it would be if you approve it, that lovely grove of eucalyptus that are probably about 80 years old would go. That is the only shade in this park, and there's no mitigation to plant a sapling with that. Lastly, I'll just say that I did go to McGregor to take a look at how it was working. There were 26 boys in the skateboard park. Only one had a helmet. None had elbow pads or knee pads. The signs were clear. So I think enforcement is an issue. There's obviously no enforcement at McGregor. And so I just think that as difficult as it is, I just don't think this is the right place. And since there is another one, I think that this one, which you do list as for intermediate, probably is not going to have the community support that you would like. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, I'm Brett Gressley, and I have 5 children. I live in Capitola. The youngest one of 6, she's really into skateboarding. She loves skateboarding, but she really has no place to skateboard. McGregor is not a suitable site. It's not going to work for her. In fact, thank you to the council for taking this forward thinking in regards to this skate feature at this active Monterey Park. Skateboarding is a Main Street sport. It's been around for 65 years. It's slated to be in the Olympics in 2020. I'm sure when swings and slides were invented a long time ago, there was great concern about safety and noise. Imagine your childhood void of these park features. This is also about equal access for all of our children, even the youngest. The McGregor site is way too advanced, and recently skateboarding was banned in the city of downtown Capitola. I would urge you not to let the loudest voices in the room drown out the smallest voices. They need a place to skateboard. They need to be in Monterey Park. It's safe for them. It makes sense. Please vote now. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Mayor, and council members. You already know I'm Lisa Steingrove, and I live on Monterey Avenue, and I'm adamantly opposed to the skate park of this size at this location. I've spoken many times at meetings for the past several years, so I will keep this short, but I care deeply for my community and my neighborhood. The proposed skate park at Monterey Avenue is not a beginner's park, as the proponents claim. The EIR pointed out that it is a multi-level, multi-age skate park. The proposed park is 6,800 square feet, including fencing, and it's almost as big as McGregor, with many of the same features. Richard Novak may be building the skate park. The city is responsible for maintaining it, policing it, and providing emergency services. There are hundreds of Capitola residents who view this second skate park's 0.7 of a mile from McGregor Skate Park as totally unnecessary and a waste of city money. Of course, the surrounding neighbors are affected the most, and 95% of those neighbors are against this location. We are not, and I capitalize that, opposed to skaters getting exercise. We don't hate kids. We are opposed to the constant noise that that skate park of that size and skill level will bring to a residential neighborhood. No matter where you place it in any of these 3 configurations, it's too close to residential homes. Even skate park designers say a skate park should be at least 500 feet from any homes. This skate park would be 140 feet from our upstairs bedrooms, and I believe 135 feet from Brian Stowe's bedroom. So I urge you to vote no.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi.
Hi. My name is Jen Weens, and I hate public speaking, so this is hard for me.
Just get close to the microphone so the people in the back can hear you, okay?
Okay. First, I want to say I am a resident of Capitola, close to the middle school and where the skate park will be. I am speaking in favor and support of the skate park. I'd like to thank Tricia and Marie and Richard for their efforts. So we live very close to the middle school, and we absolutely feel the effects of traffic during school drop-off and pickup. We also feel the impact when there are events at the church and other things at the school. There are often times when we have to wait to get out of our garage because of people walking by on bikes or even skateboards. It can be annoying at times, but I always come back to the notion that we knew where we were buying our house. We knew the school and the church would pose these challenges. Sorry. Whew. We also knew the nearby park would have people coming and going in and out of our neighborhood. And even with that, we knew we would never change a thing because we love where we live. My point being, everyone who lives near this park, school, church, deals with traffic and noise and people every day. I think the park is a great thing, an essential piece of our community. I think adding a small skate park to the area is perfect. It gives a chance for kids to come and go and skate in a safe place. Not on the street, not in the village, and not at the school. My kids skate a bit here and there, not huge skaters by any means, but I'm an advocate for any sport or activity where kids are outside being active. We are a happy, healthy community, and we should always advocate for those activities. I have other stuff, but I'll just say the park is a community for the community, and the kids are part of this community. They love to skate, and I'd like to give them a place to do so safely. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi. I'm much shorter than Jen. So
Bring that thing down. That's great. That's fine.
And I'm also one that does not like public speaking, but I felt compelled to be here tonight. My name is Mary Margulies, and I live at 125 Wesley Street. I am a Capitola resident. I have 2 children. I have an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. And you might even say I have a third, because my husband, though he's much older, he's also a skateboarder. And he's trying to get the kids to be. And we have actually been at Monterey Park and the school skateboarding, and he tried to teach me how to skateboard at the track. And it probably would have gone a lot better had this skateboard park been there, because now I look like a grandma on a skateboard. But anyway, I just really want to reiterate that this is for our generation of kids and the future. And I believe it is getting back to Capitola's roots. We used to have a downhill skateboarding championship. I had read about it down on Monterey into the village. And I think that is the spirit of Capitola. The spirit of Capitola is skateboarding, it's surfboarding, it's all the wonderful activities that we all enjoy. Yes, baseball and soccer, but I do know that the park right now is underutilized, and it would be utilized much more. So thank you for listening to my rambling. I just once again want to reiterate that my family is in support of this park. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
Thank you, Council, for letting us speak. My name is Chris Hadlin, resident of Capitola. I grew up next to Derby Park and have nothing but fond memories of skateboarding from I was probably about 8 years old on up. So here's my boys.
I would like the skate park to be at New Brighton.
What's your name?
Owen. Hello, my name is Jen, and I totally have full respect for supporting for the skate park. Thumbs up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dad. Kids.
Hello, I'm not a good public speaker, but I wanted to speak. My name is Judy Oyama, and I actually skateboarded in both the downhill skateboard contests. I skated when I was 15. I'm 56 years old, and I still skateboard, so all the skateboarders are not creepy old men. Creepy men, they're kids, they're moms. There's a lot of women. There's more women skateboarding now than there ever has been. And I've gone to McGregor. There was a homeless man sleeping in the half pipe. And I was thinking, if I brought my kid here, and there were other kids, parents that bring their kids, and they see a man sleeping in the half pipe. That would not happen at a neighborhood park. It's near the bushes and trees. And so I want to speak for the moms and the skaters that Capitola used to be a friendly skateboard, friendly youth-oriented place, and I feel like it's not youth-oriented and they don't want the skaters. There's a beginner park, which will be great, and there's other soccer and different things. And then there's the intermediate park, and the older kids can go there and the creepy dads can go there. So I think that we need two parks, and I appreciate everything that they've done and Richard Novak for supporting the skate parks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Neil Goldstein. I live on Rosedale Avenue in Capitola. The planned skate park, that was easy. This planned skate park at Monterey Park is redundant, unnecessary, highly divisive, in the wrong location, and absolutely not in the best interest of Capitola. It will actually interfere with the education and safety of our children and will be disruptive to the most vulnerable of us, including the special needs children who use the park and are sensitive to sound. It will destroy the park and the surrounding neighborhood, creating noise, traffic, disruption, and vandalism. I see this as an example of corporate bullying, where people with a great deal of money try to force gifts on people who do not want them. This is basically the rich against the residents, and I cannot support that kind of bullying. Thank you very much for your attention and your no vote on this very bad idea.
Thank you, Neil.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Council, and staff. My name is David Stowe, and I live on Monterey Avenue and oppose the construction of the skate park in Monterey Park. I don't dislike skateboarders or that the location is wrong. There are homes on three sides of the park, and the people living there will be impacted daily by the activity of the skateboard. And there are some residents living in the vicinity of the proposed skate park that have shut-ins, that are shut-ins there, and others that may have problems sleeping in the evening, that they try to take a nap or sleep during the day. However, it's going to be pretty hard for them to sleep with a skateboard park there. It's going to be a lot of noise. There's much more noise from the number of and interaction of the skaters intending to use the park. Considerable foot traffic to and from the park. Increased vehicle traffic on Monterey. Parents dropping off their kids, picking up the children, and young adults driving to the park to use that. Monterey Park is a park that is open to the public, and I'm sure this skateboard park will be the same. There are three suggestions on the location of the park, and so far, two of them. One of them has been rejected. Another has the location will be hard for. There will have to be removal of 2 healthy eucalyptus trees and possibly a redwood. Another site was a horizontal to Monterey Avenue and much more and closer to the homes.
You're going to need to wrap up, sir.
Beg your pardon?
You're going to need to wrap up. Your time's up.
Okay. Well, okay, the dominant factor to the council to consider is that so many residents of Capitola Village do not want the skateboard park anywhere in Monterey Park. I thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Charlie.
My name's Charlie Thomas, 43-year resident of Capitola. First of all, I want to say I've got nothing against skateboarders, okay? Absolutely nothing. I surfed for many, many years. If I started skateboarding, I probably, who knows what would happen if I did that. So I'll read off my letter here. First of all, it's important to note that I've known Richard Novak for many years and consider him a really good guy, and one who has always given back to the community. I very much appreciate his offer to finance a skateboard park, and I'm a little disappointed in some of the stories I've read in the Sentinel that he is here to further his own personal needs. I don't believe that's true. However, I'm not in favor of the skateboard park. I do not believe it's the right location for the park. I don't believe that it belongs next to Soquel School District offices. I don't believe it belongs next to the middle school, and I don't believe it belongs in the neighborhood. If we must have another skateboard park in Capitola, I would suggest Jade Street Park. Jade Street Park is a multi-use park that has more parking, much more space along the restroom, and much more parking, much more space, restroom facilities that are already in place. I'm not sure as to how the city is going to manage and maintain the proposed park. Policing and cleaning the area will be one more project and expense of the city of Capitola and the police department, which will already add to their busy schedules. My wife and I walk the park almost every day to appreciate, and we appreciate the tranquility of the open space and watching that clock. Even at the softball games and soccer practices, it remains a nice place to walk and enjoy the park setting. Once again, absolutely no offense to Richard Novak, but people in the neighborhood that I've spoken to have shown very little enthusiasm for the park. Thank you to the City Council for taking my thoughts into consideration, and thanks again, Richard Novak, for your kind generosity. Thank you, Charlie. Hello.
Good evening, council members.
Thank you.
It's amazing to me that the city of Capitola would even consider voting to build yet another skate park within a mile of the one just completed without giving it a chance. Don't get me wrong, skateboarding is a good sport. I had a board once. But one that doesn't disrupt the lives of residents, schools, businesses, and the general public. I appreciate Richard Novak's generosity, but this location is simply wrong on many levels. The Sentinel opinion page claimed that the proposed skate park would be for younger kids from 3 to 12. It's my understanding that the proposed elements are not actually designed for beginners, and I believe it is illegal to restrict who can and cannot use a public park. How would you expect to regulate and impose such restrictions? You can't just dictate that it's only for local youngsters. And if kids are young, they should be accompanied by a parent, because skateboard parks are not intended to be babysitters. Because what happens if someone gets hurt? Who's liable? To say that the skateboard park will create no expense to the taxpayer is absolutely untrue. Another facility will saddle the city with more ongoing regulations, supervision, operation, and maintenance costs, not to mention patrolling that we can ill afford. There are many more people who will be adversely affected than there are children who will be enjoying it. The middle school students and teachers, after-school teams and coaches, dog walkers, joggers, and families with small children would no longer be able to enjoy the park as they do now. That's a lot of people. I object to any skateboarding facility at Monterey Park. All this redundancy to please some very well-meaning parents, I agree, who think their young children should be given special treatment by the city, will come at the expense of the other 99.9% of Capitola residents, students, staff, and administrators. As a daily park user, I prefer tranquility and shade to concrete and noise. I ask you to uphold this appeal.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Nancy Stucker. I live in the Soquel Union Elementary School District, and my family and I have been avid users of Monterey Park for over 20 years. Both of my sons attended New Brighton Middle School, and both of my sons are skateboarders. In fact, the last time I spoke here was in favor of a skateboard park a number of years ago. I've been to skate parks with my sons since they were little, and I know how abrasively loud they are. Monterey Park is not an appropriate place for this noise. Perhaps those sound studies focused on the homes, noise to the homes, but I'd like you to consider how the noise will affect the current users of the park. It's a beautiful open green space that would lose its character entirely if 6,000 square feet of concrete are placed there, replacing grass and trees. Specifically, option 3 would be carved out of the beautiful green knoll, and it would take out the entire eucalyptus grove along with all the shade it provides. You can't really use that park in the afternoon on a hot day without that shade. Like someone said, you fry over there at McGregor because there are no trees, and if you take those out, anybody using that grass won't be there very long. The sun beats down on you without that shade. And just, if you were considering the one next to the softball field, it's just too close. It's crazy. It's within, right now, 5 feet of where the infield dirt is. It's incompatible and just dangerous. The beauty and openness of Monterey Park and the many ways it's currently used are part of what defines the character of the neighborhood. People of all ages go there, toddlers to older adults. It is for children right now. They're there enjoying the playing fields. Everyone's enjoying the open green space. They play, they exercise, they relax on the grass. Generations to come will lose that open space if you put a skate park there.
Thank you for your comments. Hello, David.
Good evening. My name is David Nazareth, and I'm better known by my better half, Linda Rhodes, who wrote you a letter. I hope you read it, page 142. We live right across the street, 713 Monterey Avenue, across the parking lot. We are in favor of a skate park, option 1, that was discussed 3-4 years ago, under the conditions it was discussed, where it would be truly designed for preteens. It took me 3 years to evolve to support this. The process here is broken. The Planning Commission should be shot. Okay? These people, we have such conflict here, yet they've voted unanimously. The alternatives they suggested were done out of process. That's really what I have objection to. There would be a 160 feet wall in front of my house, less than 50 yards away. I do want a park, and we support the original site with the original conditions. Part of what's changed is the police are not doing the job. They are not patrolling the park. And that's why the recommendation was made to have these alternative sites. They need to get out of their bloody cruisers and walk the park, whether or not there is a skate park or not. Monterey Park deserves patrolling. They deserve community policing. And all the more to the point, the more they get out of their cars, the kids will let them know what's going on. So all these alternatives were created during the Planning Commission meeting, which we didn't have input to because the police didn't want to patrol. Thank you very much.
Sir, I don't appreciate your comment about the Planning Commission. I think you should take that comment back. Please.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Hard act to follow. My name is Maureen Collins. I'm sorry about the shaking. I have Parkinson's. I am a seventh-generation Capitola, Santa Cruz County resident. I am second generation of Capitola. My late father, John Collins, was a member of this community who was a volunteer fire captain, firefighter, and gave to this community. I think that the skateboard park at Monterey Park should be built as is. I like option 1. I grew up on Wesley Street. My family was one of the first 5 families in that neighborhood. We have our roots there. We are 100% in favor. My dad speaks to me from the grave saying he wants that park. We would discuss it while he was in his final days, and he told me, Please fight for those kids. They need places to go. He had an acronym, KNACK, K-N-A-C-K. Kids need athletics, culture, activities. We could add an S to it and a skate park. Please, please consider it. It's not too much noise. Anybody that says that has not had fun, because I used to ride my skateboard down Park Avenue Hills and run over the acorns or the pods off the eucalyptus tree. And I might advise people that don't know this, because they may not be from California, but eucalyptus are not native to Capitola or to California or to the United States. They are a fire hazard. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Ann Stowe. My family and I have lived on Monterey Avenue for almost 41 years. So to the gentleman that wanted to know how many people still have children living at home, the majority of people who live on Monterey Avenue, their children are already grown, but we've lived there for 41 years, other people just as long as we have. So I resent the poll on that. All right, I signed on line 12 when Marie and Tricia came around for signatures. It was for kids. Don't you want a safe place for the children? Of course I want a safe place for the children. Who wouldn't? So I signed their petition. Into the months that went by, I found out it was a 6,800 square foot skate park. Now the Planning Commission wants to put option 2 160 feet from my son's bedroom window. And as Brian already said, he has 2 forms of sleep apnea. He doesn't like the apparatus that helps him sleep, so he doesn't sleep. He's tired the next day. He wants to rest. How much rest do you think he's going to get with a 6,800 square foot skate park that's open 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, 160 feet from his bedroom window? I don't think that's going to happen. Is my son's well-being less than what they want for their children? I don't think so. People want a second skate park. That's ridiculous. We have McGregor. It's a beautiful skate park. They don't want it because NHS is not attached to it. You look around this room and you look at all the T-shirts with the logos and everything. This is not about the safety of the children. This is about a logo, because Mr. Novak doesn't get paid for the skate park. He gets paid for the logo on all of his merchandise. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Hi.
Hi, my name is Heidi Wagner. I live on Monterey, just a few doors down from Ann. There's been talk about the street. My family purchased our home in 1971. We've seen an extreme amount of growth on that street. Capitola Knolls weren't there. The school district office wasn't there. St. Joseph's Church wasn't there. The auditorium for the PAC Center wasn't there. So trust me, we've seen plenty of growth. So, you know, putting this part, I oppose to all 3. It just makes my blood pressure boil. I oppose all 3. And I can't help but think of poor Brian. Hasn't that Stowe family been through enough than to put something like this outside his bedroom window? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. How are you guys doing? Numa Trepanier, Capitola resident. I've lived here for about 12 years. My kids were all born and raised here. I wasn't actually going to come up and speak, but they requested that I come up and speak. And I just want to say that myself and my children are in favor of a skate park there. We use that park all the time. My son has played t-ball or Little League practice there. And I have 3 children who all skateboard, 2/3 of which are girls. So it's not just a young male element. And I trust you guys will make, you know, the right decision, the best decision. And is anything else, kids? Oh, and furthermore, you know, eventually that's a neighborhood I want to look into moving to. So, you know, if anybody's interested in selling after this thing goes through, please see me afterwards, because My kids are going to be going to New Brighton and everything. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Shona McDougall, and I live in Capitola, California. My husband and I are parents. We are also in the process of becoming licensed foster parents for the County of Santa Cruz. We value and respect the youth of our community. We are a skateboard-loving family. I am here today to voice my opposition to the proposed skate park due to its location adjacent to New Brighton Middle School and its proximity to our homes. I would like to say if NHS truly wants to build a skate park for the kids, I would ask them to consider building and designing a park specifically for younger children. Thank you all very much.
Shauna, thanks for your comments.
Hello, I'm Lois Robin. I'm a neighbor. I have a policy comment to make. In 2005, a book came out called Last Child in the Woods, and it was about nature deficit disorder, which has been increasingly afflicting our children because all the places that they've had to play and that they were ways that they've gone outside to ditches and fields and lots, all of those have been paved over by our great car culture. If you look online, there is a list of 50 ways to stop nature deficit disorder. And I'm here to say that a skate park is not one of the 50. Instead, I would envision that that same 6,000 feet be used to develop even more the potentials of nature with a few more trees that children could climb, not too tall, with some logs that they can walk on, with boards that they can use to make some of their structures of their own, and for imaginative play, and for working with each other, not more hyped up, intense types of activities. No, we have a lot of children suffering from, whose parents are not here probably, who are suffering from attention deficit disorder, from too much stimulation. So a park used in the proper way, it could be built with the help of people from Cabrillo, from child development people, from landscapers, and it would be so inexpensive that I would sponsor it, and you could put a sign on the park and on logos saying Robin Nature Place.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Diana Peters, and I just have a couple comments to make. First of all, I wish some of our opponents to the skate park would not be so literal in their comments about Richard Novak's generosity. I've known him for over 60-some odd years, and he's always worked hard to become successful, and he's always tried to give back since that success. Most of his generosity is donated anonymously, so nobody knows about it. But I do. I am all for this skateboard for our younger children. They need to be in an area that is safe, that people can see them, parents can oversee their welfare, and that's just about all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You guys are doing really good. We only have about 6 or 7 speakers left, so hang in there. You've been a great crowd tonight, okay?
Good evening. My name is Craig Curtis. I'm a resident of Capitola for 30 years, and my property butts up to New Brighton Middle School. I don't have any children, but I love children, and I love hearing their voices all these many years. As a resident of Capitola, first of all, I want to commend everyone for being here this evening. It shows me that there are a lot of concerned and caring Capitolans. And if you live in Capitola and Soquel, most undoubtedly you've seen this publication, the Capitola Soquel Times. This here reflects this month's publication. And there's a very wonderful article in here called Vision Capitola Completed, May I ask to please see a show of hands of any of the
Sir,
participants?
just to talk to us here.
Oh, okay. To see a show of hands of any of the people here represented tonight that were on the Vision Capitola Committee. There's one. Okay, so the Vision Capitola project has been completed. Vision Capitola was an all-volunteer grassroots effort to get the most current picture of the Capitola community's thinking about two questions. What do you value most about Capitola, and what would you like to see happen in Capitola in the next 5 to 15 years? The final Vision Capitola report was submitted to the Capitola City Council on May 12th.
This is out of line, Ed.
Are you going somewhere?
Oh,
with
yes,
this?
I am.
Okay,
I am.
good.
So
Bring it home.
over 300 people participated in the process, and that represents a cross-section of Capitolans that are not here this evening. They care likewise. And so by far, participants placed their highest value on Capitola's small-town feeling, a strong neighborhood identity, and the natural beauty of the ocean and beach. Drilling down into the most...
Sir, thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Sir, everybody got 2 minutes.
Oh.
Yep, that was it.
Oh,
I was hoping you were going to get somewhere, but you didn't,
I'm
unfortunately.
sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening. My
Hi.
name is Penny Disbrow. This is my grandson, and I am in full support of everyone here that's in support of this skate park, because this is what it's about. And a thank you to Tricia, Marie, and Rich Novak for doing this. Capitola needs this. I've been here since 1945. Our whole family has. And I appreciate whatever you do. I hope you say yes, because remember, it's for the kids.
Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Hello, my name is Noreen Aman, and I'm a Capitola resident. I have a 14-year-old son. He's a great kid. He's a straight-A student. Doesn't vandalize where he skateboards. He respects his community. He lives here. He doesn't want to trash his own community. And I'm in full support of the skate park, and I agree with most of the comments that have been stated here tonight in support of it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Amy. I live on Capitola Road, and I just wanted to address that I'm a school bus driver for special needs, and I work for Pajaro Unified School District. Our district goes all the way up to Cabrillo, so we do go down by McGregor Skate Park. I also live in Capitola right over here, and I have 5 kids. I want to say that just about McGregor Skate Park, when I drove the bus by there all the time and saw it, and I thought I would never send my kids there. And the reason is because there's too many trees, there's not good area for the public to go by and see what's going on. I have friends that are police officers in Capitola. They do a great job. But if a skate park is in a community and in a neighborhood, then it can be viewed by all these wonderful people that live right there, that can watch over these children and also see what's going on. I do think that there is noise problems, but the community involves everybody. And I just think that when they talk about, 2 skate parks in 1 mile, it's 2 total different situations. And you can't really put that on the table. I don't think that that's really a valid point, because I drive a school bus. To see kids walking or skating or riding their bikes, it scares the holy bejeebies out of me. There's no room. There's no room for them to walk. I wouldn't send any of my kids. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Hi.
Hello, good evening. My name is Gabriel Garcia, and I'm a new resident of Capitola. I live on Monterey Avenue. I grew up surfing and skateboarding, so I know firsthand they're both great sports. I had tons of fun skateboarding as a kid. I still skateboard. I have a 9-year-old daughter who I'm teaching how to skateboard and how to surf. She loves it. However, with that said, skateboarding is a great sport given the right location. My child will be attending New Brighton next year, and I have great concern about a skate park being built right next to a middle school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dan Benvenuti, Isaiah Street, Capitola. I recently had a chance to visit the McGregor Park. I sent you an email about some of the observations I have there. Basically, enforcement of the rules and security. There's no supervision, okay? I don't see this as an issue of residents of Capitola against skateboarders, okay? I see it as an issue of doing things the right way. You had a chance to do it right at McGregor. Obviously, there's some flaws there, and they can be fixed. There's nothing that can't be fixed. But until you fix those flaws and address those issues, I don't think you should continue with authorizing more skate parks to be built. The EIR studies are flawed. The presentation is flawed. Are you going to do the right thing and stop, analyze the mistakes that have been made, go back to the drawing board, and do whatever is necessary? I'm opposed to the second park for these reasons, and I think you have an obligation to this community to do the right thing, evaluate the problems that McGregor's going to bring up, address those problems in a proper fashion, and then I think you'll have full support of this community going forward and present any new parks in the right manner, not flawed. A house built on a flawed foundation is going to fall down, and that's exactly what you're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Al.
Al Globus. The first thing I want to say is there is a safe way to get from New Mountain Middle School on your feet to the McGregor Park. You do not have to go on McGregor, which is a deadly thing to do. All you have to do is go straight down towards Park on Monterey, turns into Kennedy. There's a stop sign. There are crosswalks. You cross. You go down the wooden stairway. You turn left on the Park Access Road, which is very wide, has no traffic to speak of, and you end up right at McGregor. You don't have to put a single foot on McGregor Avenue. There's a little path that takes you right to the straight park. Now, there's a couple of places along there where you have to walk in the street. Now, they're nice wide streets, not a lot of traffic. It's not dangerous, but if you really don't like that, there's another way. You go to Coronado and Park. You go across. There's a crosswalk and there's a stop sign. You go to the railroad tracks. You take a left. Keep your eyes open. There's a well-maintained footpath. You take a left there, and you end up in that same place. So if you think your kids have to be in danger walking or riding to McGregor Skate Park, you're just plain wrong. Okay? It's not right. The other thing I like to say is, Monterey Park is not central to Capitola. I mean, look at a map. It's not even it's a block and a half from the edge of Capitola. If you want to have a skate park that is centrally located and has easy access for all the kids at Capitola, that place is right here. And you got some enormous parking lots, and it won't hurt anybody to turn those parking lots and part of those parking lots into concrete. Okay? And it wouldn't even look a whole lot worse. So there's a lot of issues, but you've heard most of them 37 times already. Those are a couple you haven't heard. Oh, there's already graffiti at McGregor Park. Very small, fortunately, but we're going to have any place we put a skate park, we're going to have graffiti problems.
Thank you, Al. Hi.
Hi, good evening. I'm a homeowner and resident at Cliffwood Heights. I'm a lifelong resident of this community. Love it here. Our house is near the end of Wesley at the corner of Orchid, so we're about 50 yards approximately from the original proposed site. And in fact, my house is actually in a lot of the pictures, not in this one here, but a lot of the pictures have been shown tonight, so I'm very close. I'm here representing my family, my wife, and my two kids. They're ages 8 and 15. I just want to say we support the park. We use Monterey Park daily to walk our dog, but really it's underutilized. There's not a lot for our kids to do there. And I'm hearing a lot of people talk about they won't be able to use it going forward. We're going to lose a lot of green space. But the reality is it's really underutilized. There's hardly ever anybody there. Aside from a few sports practices on the weeknights or maybe a game or two on the weekends, there's hardly ever anybody there. And I'm there every single day. The other thing is I walk from my house to Monterey Park. I access it through the Orchid Gate at the end of the cul-de-sac there in Orchid. Almost daily, there's a half a dozen to 10, 12 kids skateboarding in the cul-de-sac there with makeshift half pipes and, rail slides and whatnot. And I'm not against that. I think it's great, but I would much rather have our kids get out of the middle of the streets. My kids included. My kids are out there skateboarding, having fun too. I'd much rather have them in a safe environment at Monterey Park and actually use Monterey Park. It's there for us. It's there for our kids. It's there for everybody. I think I've made most of my points. The other thing I want to say is that my daughter graduated from New Brighton last year. She went there for all 3 years. Where we went after school, or where she went after school, I drove her to Scotts Valley to use a skate park there because that was the only family-friendly skate park in the area, and I don't think McGregor compares to Scotts Valley. I would still take her to Scotts Valley or take my son to Scotts Valley versus using McGregor. McGregor's right down the street from my house. So I think other than that, everything else has already been said. One last point, skateboarding's in our DNA. It's who we are as a community. Our kids are growing up doing it. It's what we do. Let's encourage it. Let's not be against it. Thanks.
Thank you for those comments. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Mayor Bata, Elizabeth Russell. Hi. At this meeting, I was really just trying to listen because, as City Councilman Bertrand said, I think this is really a time when I would hope that the voting council members would really look towards compromise, because compromise is what's needed here. It's a divisive issue, and I was so happy when I heard the school district person, Judy, say that there was no issue with Jade Street Park, that there would be no problem at all, because that opens up a wonderful opportunity. You could build a skateboard park at Jade Street Park. And when you look at it, Jade Street Park is on the opposite side of the town. So you're not having two parks within a mile of each other. You're having a park on the opposite side of the town. And when I hear the parents talk, they're talking about a place for 3-year-olds to 6-year-olds. You could build at Jade Street Park a 3,000-foot skateboard park. You could limit it to ages no older than 14, but you could make it where parents are allowed to skateboard with their children. It sounds like that's exactly what they want, and that would be a good compromise. And I hope that we can consider compromise tonight. And one thing that I'm just aware of from board documents that I think we should all be aware of is we're already looking, the city is already, to my understanding, is already looking at a $15,000 per year annual budget increase to take care of the skateboard park. So when we're looking at that over 10 years, that's $150,000. So when we talk about this being a non-expense thing, there's already a line item in the budget for $15,000. So again, I just really ask our leadership, work for compromise, work with all of us for compromise. Thank you. Don't put a park in a skate park in Monterey Park. Thank you.
Elizabeth. Hi, Dan.
Hello, everybody. Dan Steingroup. I live on Monterey Avenue. I'm opposed to any of the proposed skate park ideas at Monterey. However, sitting here for a long period of time, I'm listening to a lot of the proponents of the park, parents speaking about their young children. Well, that just brings to mind how many times I've come down here and asked you guys, let's look at the 2,000 square foot park. And nobody would listen to us. And what's needed now that we have a park in place is something for the small children, which none of us on Monterey have ever been opposed to. A bowl for them to learn on, and their parents to be right there with them in a safe place. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Hi.
My name is Paula, and I am opposed to the skateboard park, and I oppose for a lot of the same reasons that you've heard tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm opposed for a lot of the same reasons that I've heard tonight. And I also am hearing, especially from my gym trainer, who is a skateboard fanatic, and was very excited to hear that there was a skateboard park coming up today, and in Monterey Park. And she helped me to see, reasons why it was important for kids to have it. But I still hold my own opinion, very much like the woman with the green space, and that we are concreting up so many things. And I'm going to read this one observation that I had. I had a list of 8 things that I wasn't going to talk about necessarily. It was stream of consciousness when I was writing at home. But I observed, I go to the park daily with my dog, who is terrified of one skateboard, let alone many, 25. And I have to say I get startled too when I hear them. So I observed a young teenage girl lying on her back on the blanket on that beautiful lush grass of Monterey Park, looking up at the blue sky between reading her book. And it made me really think about, we don't have that many green spaces that aren't, Nicene Marks is wonderful, you have to pay $8. But it's got wild animals. My dog is afraid of them. I mean, it's like, that's my personal agenda, is that I walk there daily with a dog who's terrified of going to any other parks. But this young girl was lying there on the grass, and I thought about the skateboard park going in there, and that probably wouldn't appeal to her anymore, is to look up at that big bowl of blue sky with white clouds, because there's a skateboard park behind her. First of all, she may feel vulnerable. Second of all, she may just be wanting to observe the boys. I would if I was her age. And anyway, I am opposed. I do understand the proponents as well.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. Just got off of work, just made it here. I'm opposed to the big park, but I'm not opposed to the small park. Like my neighbor just told me. Obviously, first of all, I've been a resident of Capitola since '75 and a homeowner since '88. I live at 511 Monterey Avenue, directly across the street from the music room. So I've been here for a while, and skaters don't bother me, but I want to see a small park. Let me tell you what happened to me last Saturday night when I got home about 1:30 in the morning when I was sleeping. My neighbor wakes me up. We go across the street to the school, and we see skaters. 2 o'clock in the morning. Lights. Camera. 4 guys skating at the school. So we go across the street. Hey, what's going on, you guys? You guys woke me up. It's 2 in the morning. What's he say? Hey, you. Oh, come on, you guys. Really? Get out of here. You're not local. You ain't from around here. Okay, fine. Turn around and went to my house. Kind of peeked out the window. If you guys think that this skate park is going to be for little kids, it's not. It's going to be for grown-ups, and they're going to be jumping fences, and and I'm going to see it all. I'm going to see it all. I'm going to hear it all. I'm not opposed to a small park. I want to see little kids. We already have the big park down the street. Just my opinion as a resident of Capitola. I'd like to see a small park with little kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. Hi.
Hi, my name is Barrett, and I've lived here my entire life. I've gone to elementary, middle, and high school. My middle school was New Brighton, and I have to say I'm opposed to the skate park idea. I've known many skaters throughout my life, and this doesn't apply to the type of person a skater is, but driving around, seeing the different types of parks, it doesn't always bring about the most safest environment. And being right next to a school isn't necessarily the smartest idea. Middle school's hard enough. If you're going to want to spend money, put it into something we already have and make it better. There's no point in tearing down something that the school uses for PE, for fun, and building something in its place. So if you're going to spend money, put it on something we already have.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Hi.
Good evening. I would like to say I'm for the park. I like trees. I like dogs. I love kids. I like all these things. But the kids trump everything, and it's a park, and build a skate park. I think that would be the best option. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Helen.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I am opposed to the current proposal of a skate park at any of these configurations. The proposed approximately 6,000 square foot skate park in Monterey Park. You've all heard from me before. You know that I am in favor of nature, and I am very much in support of our special needs students. I've lived in the neighborhood for a long time, and I would like to say that all of us who are opposed to this location, we are parents, grandparents, we have children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews. We all love kids. So when people come up here and say, build another skateboard park for the kids, it's for the kids. I want to say, please don't build a skate park there, because we should be serving all of our kids. We already have a skate park on McGregor. We have underserved populations of children in Capitola, children who are unserved. I know I've written to you on numerous occasions about the special needs kids. We have kids who need nature play. We have kids who need access to facilities that all children can use. And I'm not talking about special needs kids who skate. I'm talking about the special needs kids who really need something like what's being built at Chanticleer. I know I've sent you email about this. I'm opposed. Please do the right thing for all of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
Hi everyone, I'm Jason. I just wanted to tell everyone that I've been to like many skate parks, and some of my friends and my parents, and they say it's like no one, you know, they don't hear any noise. They don't hear like clickety clack or any of that. They hear the opposite, like nothing. You know, they say, you know, it's not skaters are really good guys. They not or girls. You know, they do the right thing. If there's somehow going to be a fight, they'll walk away from it. They don't want to encourage it, taking videos or whatever. But I just want to say I'm really for the skate park, and it's going to be a good project, and hope it goes in really soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Mayor, Council, just want to tell you we want the park, and also have the full confidence in our Public Works and PD to be around when needed. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Hi.
We're having a lesson in civics tonight.
Great job, Mom.
Okay. So I'm Molly Turner, and this is my daughter Riley and our friend Chloe, and they're skater girls. And I have something to say, but I'll let Riley just chime in first.
I think having the skate park at this location would be good because it gives the kids a chance to get there quick, because I know like a lot of my friends live in the Capitola area and they like to skate too, so it's a good location.
You want to say anything, Chloe? Okay. And I wrote a brief statement to the Sentinel several weeks ago about a rebuttal to somebody's concern they expressed about special education. I'm an occupational therapist, and I was for a short while employed, actually for a long while, employed with Soquel Elementary School District and also the County of Office of Education, and I've worked in those portables. And I think it's actually a benefit to have a skate park behind the portables. The kids are already taken to the PE classrooms with that level of noise, and the children do get pulled out of the classrooms for sensory breaks, and how great of an opportunity it would be for these kids to be exposed to children and giving them an opportunity to get on a skateboard, maybe take a break, take a body break, feel the vibration. That's what these kids need. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing the gang up. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak from the general public? Okay, then at this point, we're going to close out the public hearing with the final speakers, which we said was going to be the proponents. Will get 3 minutes, and then I'll have 2 more representatives from Richard and a representative from Friends of Monterey Park. So if the proponents want to come up first, you'll have 3 minutes total.
Thank you. My name is Tricia Proctor. And again, we want to thank all of our supporters for coming tonight. And after hearing all the comments, there are a few I'm offended by, and that is name calling and especially death threats. That is unacceptable, and no one gets anywhere, and some of you should actually be ashamed of yourselves. Also, we have full faith in our police department to continue to take care of our community as they do now. And for those of you to think that Richard Novak is only doing this to benefit his company is silly. he would have to sell 500,000 T-shirts just to pay for that EIR. And just a reminder, the skate park will only take up less than 4% of the 4-acre park, so there will be plenty of green space. Let's get this park built, and all those fears will be put to rest. And thank you again for your consideration.
Am I doing that one too? So I, of course, second everything that Tricia said. We also don't see any flaw in the process as it's unfolded. We want to thank staff for all of their professionalism and for the professionals that they hired to secure the noise study, the traffic, writing the EIR. A lot of time and effort, I have no doubt, went into the preparation and the gathering of that information. And so, we definitely want to thank everyone for all the time that that's taken to review. Again, we've definitely tried to stay positive and within all the parameters. We have said all along that we are doing this for the kids. We think it is the perfect location. I think that we heard a lot of people tonight who feel the same way, more than the majority who actually live up in that immediate area. And I actually do find it ironic that the stickers in the audience are actually generated with a font that is trademarked by NHS, so that is kind of ironic. So we want to thank you again for everything. We look forward to the debate process as it continues this evening, and it's no secret that we are hoping for a positive outcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Either Richard or, going to come up, Richard? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your time. For those who are interested in statistics, and if anybody wants to double check me on this, usually there's a tally up there. I came up with 21 speakers for and 34 speakers against. Checking on the additional material yesterday afternoon, late afternoon, I found that there were 45 personal emails and letters against. There were 58 form letters with comments against, and 79 petition signatures against. A total of 182 against, versus 61 emails and letters for. I'd also like to say that, and please check with Mr. Jesberger on this, I believe I have his email in my files that McGregor Park is not for sale. I'd like to put that to rest. Frederick Street Park facility was brought up as an example of a beginner park to me in 2010 when I moved in. Councilman Norton was there and explained that, and I like that idea because I spent 2 years in Frederick Street Park neighborhood, took my 12-year-old daughter to the park, and she used the skate facility occasionally, but it was a beginner park. I also discovered another example of a beginner park at Highlands Park in Ben Lomond. It's next to the Jim Keefe skate park, and it's isolated. It's got its own enclosure, and it's about 1,000 square feet. That to me looks like a beginner skate park. Locals for Capitola Skate Park have said that they are looking forward to 3+ skate parks in Capitola, and I'm thinking they must have other sites in mind, and with the controversy on this one, I'm wondering why they just don't abandon this one and go to the other 1+ sites that are still left in Capitola. There was figures of $15,000 a year, and I also heard $26,000 a year expenses to maintain Monterey Park. I was told that allows the $15,000 or the $26,000 allows for one officer involved call per week. I think that's a little bit light. The EIR established that skateboards will be louder than any other athletic equipment in the park. On June 10th and 11th and 12th, in 3 days, spending just a few hours out at the park, I received 56 signatures of individuals, park users who were against the skate park, and 4 people who were in favor. So that was 56 against, 4 in favor, and that was just over 3 days, a couple of hours a day. We already know that the noise will be, we already know what the noise is going to be like as neighbors, because we have skateboarders that trick off of the wheel stops and the curbs at Monterey Park parking lot. So we know what the noise is going to be like. Monterey Park is surrounded by noise-sensitive uses, a school, residences, the church, the district offices. Those are all noise-sensitive uses. It doesn't make any sense to have a very active park. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Welcome.
Pearl Khan for the appellant, Friends of Monterey Park. Thank you, Mayor and council members, for your time and patience in this process. I just want to close by talking about the EIR process, and I know that some may view it as a cumbersome process, and at times it can be, but ultimately it's the core planning document that helps guide all of our development decisions. And the reason why it is perhaps at times cumbersome is because its function is to promote public participation and transparency to all stakeholders about any possible environmental impacts before a decision is made. So we have all that information before us before we come to a decision, a well-informed decision. And so that process it starts to erode when the environmental impacts and when the actual project parameters themselves are not disclosed until after a decision has been made. So it's already been pointed out that it was procedurally improper and unfair to the public process to post an entire new addendum talking about all the possible actual project parameters after the Planning Commission had already come to its decision. It's simply not the way the EIR process works, and it's not in the spirit of the California Environmental Quality Act. And so therefore, what the CEQA provides is that when there is all this new information about the possible environmental impacts, which we know now, which we did not know before, include not only noise, but biological resources, impacts to mature trees, taking down of possible trees, and we don't know yet how many or what, because we don't know what option is actually moving forward. Recirculation of the EIR is necessary, and that's specifically provided for in the CEQA guidelines. And so you've heard from many, many residents today that the site is simply incompatible with the surrounding land uses from a policy perspective. And now I'm here to emphasize the closing statement that the EIR is also legally deficient to satisfy the requirements under CEQA. And so we urge you not to certify the EIR for these reasons. Thank you.
Thank you for those closing comments. Okay. You guys want to take a 5-minute? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break.
I don't think they're ready to take a break.
5 minutes, Dennis.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to take a 5-minute break just so we can stretch and use the facilities. If that's okay, we'll come back and we'll start our deliberation. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, let me just say a couple things, and I'm going to go to staff questions. Okay, we're gonna resume. We're going to resume the process. We've closed the public comment period. What happens now, if I explained before, is we're going to bring it back. This is now going to be a conversation between the three of us. And I think one thing you need to understand that's really important is that because of government and the way it works, we're not allowed to talk about this issue. And with these other two people being gone because of the Brown Act, it makes it even worse. So this is going to be the first conversation we're going to have about the skate park. Okay, because Planning Commission has done this. We did an approval, whatever it was, 2 years ago to allow this to happen, but we're not able to have a good discussion. This is it tonight. Before I turn it over to some questions, I just want to make one general comment. I sit right now on the Metro board, I sit on the RTC board, and I sit on the Jet Skies, a Jet Select Committee for the jet noise. And I want to commend you all on the best citizen group composure for a meeting tonight, okay? Go ahead and clap. Let's give them a round of applause, okay? It's appreciated by me and my colleagues up here, and like I said, I just want to commend you for that. So we're going to wrap this up now. We're going to go. My first question is any comments by staff regarding anything that was said tonight that you want to share, add before we decide to start discussing this? Anything for clarification, anything that...
I would note that some of the comments that the appellant made representing Friends of Monterey Park regarding the adequacy of the environmental impact report, most of those comments, in fact, I think all of them were in the letter, their appeal letter. Staff did provide responses and consultation with the city attorney. That information's in your packet, and we respectfully disagree that the EIR is flawed. We believe everything was done legally and in accordance with CEQA.
Thank you. City Manager, any comments?
I think I would leave it to council members if there's any questions you had, there's some issue that somebody raised and like a response, but I don't know that I want to start cherry picking kind of my own particular.
That's fine. Just if there was something that you had to say, City Attorney, anything that you want to add, or you waiting for us for questions?
I'm happy to respond to questions, but I don't have anything to add.
We'll go with that. Okay. At this point, questions?
Yes, I would like Danielle Scott to come up to the podium because she's the designer of the skateboard park, and we could talk about what this skateboard park really is, or should be. Danielle? Thank you. Yeah, I heard you just flew in today to...
I did.
So
Yep,
thank
right
you.
before the meeting with my two children on summer vacation.
Can we bring the park design up on the screen there, Rich, please? The one that shows the layout of the park. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Danielle, you heard this evening that there's high concerns about the level of skating that will be done at this park, and there's a high interest here that if there's a park that it would be for kids. And can we talk about some of the elements that we have here and what level are they to? And if we were to design a park at a group, let's say from 7 to 12, or a beginning skater, what would we want to see?
Sure. So I believe all of these elements, almost every one of those kids that I've seen that have skated, that have come up here, could skate anything in this park, and I believe they are on average 5 to 14 years old. On average, they could skate at least half the elements in the skate park. I don't know on the 6 foot bowl area. I think I've heard some concern privately in comments, and I will say that it has been proven when you have a perfectly smooth transition that a 6 foot transition is safer than a 4 foot kink transition. I did say that we were flexible. If that was a concern, we have talked amongst ourselves that could be modified to be a little bit more shallow. There was some sound concerns. I believe there's only 2 rails in that park that we could also substitute a softer element that would not be as noisy if there is a noise concern. The skate park is placed partially in ground, and that keeps in a lot of the sound. And I do have a skateboard park that is 100 feet from my bedroom window, and it is all in ground, and I do not hear it. The only thing I hear is laughter and conversation, small conversation. As far as the elements, they've been well thought out. We've met with no less than 25 to 50 children and adults that would be utilizing the area, both locals and school kids. There's a variety of elements. We have changed a few things through the comments that they were concerned about pool coping, brick. We've taken all of those elements out that they were concerned about. We have been open to relocating the park, being sensitive of the sound to the neighbors, the location, and found the reason that there has been 3 different positions of how the park will sit was, again, to be sensitive, and we were asked to try and make that fit in different ways. And there's still a lot of green space in that area, but just trying to accommodate everyone possible with as many options as possible.
Okay, so I think I heard you say that it would be possible to make these bowls down to 4 feet instead of 6 feet.
Yes, that's correct. And I believe the skate park that's less than a mile away, they have a variety of heights, but that would be less than their maximum height.
Be considerably less. Okay, and then what about metal rails? Can you get rid of those? Is there an alternative to using other than metal in the skateboard park?
Yes, and that was a comment I was making about the 2 rails that you can see. Let me see, what number is that? I don't actually see. Oh, number 4. You can see the 2 skate rails on there. And yes, those can be substituted with softer features, meaning concrete, a roll bump that doesn't have any kind of grinding sound. Again, those were features that were requested by the kids and why they were put in there. But everything that we had designed, it can be slightly modified, absolutely.
So that's the only 2 places that metal is being used as an edge, those 2?
I'd have to look at the coping. I believe that there's a little bit of the metal coping. It is inset into the concrete, absorbing, so half of the metal coping would be inset into the concrete. So as far as elevated metal edges, those are, I believe, the 2 of the only elements on there.
Is it possible to take all metal out of this park?
Absolutely.
It is possible.
Except for the structural rebar under the concrete.
Okay, I understand that. Okay, is there other design elements that could be incorporated into this thing? I'm thinking more on the level play. I'm thinking not drawing from McGregor Park. I'm thinking about the kids that would be using this and keeping it to that level. Can you think of anything that could be added or subtracted from this park that would assure a neighborhood that the level play is going to be to that 5 to 12-year-old group?
Like I said, I think the biggest thing, if it's a concern, I do know all the skateboarders that we know and we've seen can skate that deep a bowl, but we could narrow that down to a 4-foot deep bowl would probably be the biggest. Removing the rails and making a soft rollover bump that's 2 feet high. I know I run skate camps anywhere from 1 to 4 times a year, and we teach kids anywhere from 3 to 39-year-old people, and that is one of the desired in the very beginning stages that we could replace those rails with.
So with those modifications, would you say this has brought the level down to that age group where you wouldn't attract more advanced skaters?
Absolutely, with the depth. And again, there's a wide range. I mean, there's professional skateboarders that are 10 and 12, but the average user that would be coming from the school, yes, if the bowl was narrowed down by 2 feet and removal of the rails.
Thank you, Danielle.
Absolutely.
Any questions for Danielle? Thank you very much, Danielle. Do you have any questions at all? I just have a couple questions of staff. As part of the EIR, was there a traffic study? Henry mentioned about a traffic study. Was that part of the EIR? Was there anything done in that?
We did have a traffic study done in the analysis included in the EIR.
And then that mitigation was offered on that, or was it the results of it that it was?
No, so Monterey Avenue currently operates at acceptable levels. I think we would acknowledge during school hours there can be some congestion there, but overall, on average, it operates at very good levels. I believe it's now level of service C. The addition of 8 trips as anticipated by this project would not have any real noticeable effect on existing traffic volumes.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions I have. So at this point, we'll open it up for discussion. Who'd like to lead off?
I'd be happy to.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to all these meetings that we've had and for putting up with everything. It's been a long process, and we really, really appreciate everybody's patience and everyone being cordial to each other and listening to each other. it's really unfortunate that we didn't start out this process with more wisdom. And my idea is that we should have gotten Elise, our recreation coordinator, together with the skateboard community and the neighborhood to come up with something that everyone can live with. And I don't know why we didn't do that, why we didn't foresee that there's going to be conflicts and problems and noise and other issues, and move forward together, because this is something I know a lot of people in the community want, and the council's tried to be supportive, and we've tried to say, we'll do it if we can find a place to put it, and we can find some money, some financial help for that. But it's been a really terrible challenge, because we are practically built out and we don't really have very many places to put it. So, that's really been our struggle. And I would strongly support a small beginner skateboard park there if we can downsize it. That was what the original idea was when council members walked the neighborhood and talked to the neighbors and said, could you live with this? And they said, yes, something small for beginners. Because it's not about the need for a skateboard park. I mean, we all know that it's a very popular sport. But the question is, do you want to live across the street from a skateboard park? And I would have to say no. I sat in my house today looking outside to see how far 100 yards would be or 200 yards would be. And, how many yards is this room, do you think? Who can guess that accurately?
50 yards. 50
yards, okay, double that's 100. So, it's pretty close to people's homes, and I have great sympathy for all the immediate neighbors, because I wouldn't want it across the street from my house, and so I just simply would not want that kind of noise. I mean, it is noisy, and even if you build the sound wall and you can read the noise report and the decibels, but it may not on paper look like it's going to be a problem, but I think everybody just perceives the reality is it is going to be a noise issue for people, for the immediate neighbors. And I just couldn't vote to do that to them. So, and I think it also a flaw in this process is that we didn't engage the school board and say not that you're telling us what to do with our property, you're helping us develop the property, a joint effort that we can come together and work on this together. That's what it should have been. It should have been togetherness of the school, the neighbors, the skateboard folks, the parents, the kids, at least at the recreation department. She knows these people, and put something forward that we could all live with. So maybe it's not too late. Maybe we can save this, maybe not. I thought it was very instructive when we first started having our meetings. And people in the community brought us information about where other communities locate their skateboard parks. They're not across the street from other neighbors. They're in shopping centers or out by themselves, or they're maybe at a park where there's not a lot of residents, things like that. So that was really interesting. And my feeling that I get from this is we're trying to squeeze this into a location here in Capitola because everybody wants it so much. They all want it for the kids. They want these activities, but we're putting it in this place that doesn't really fit. And I'm not sure if it fits over at Jade Street, but maybe. I mean, you've got neighbors over there across the street in the mobile home park. But, I don't know whether there's room there, whether, they could ever put anything there. But, I mean, a little one over there would be wonderful also, would be absolutely wonderful. So I think that that trying to squeeze this kind of a size of a park, skateboard park, into a very active neighborhood, the location's not right. It's too close to the school, too close to the neighbors. And it's going to have a lot of problems. I'm not sure about that sound wall. I don't know about that fence, whether that's really going to keep people over there. Another concern I have is the management, enforcement, and maintenance of this whole thing. And I think it's the EIR, I think, does a pretty good job of analyzing all of the issues. I think Personally, I would have rather had some more alternatives analyzed, but I think they do a pretty good job. I'm not going to not certify the EIR because of that. But in the discussion of the EIR, this was huge amount of reading for the Planning Commission, especially all the comments that we got. You know, this was a huge amount of work for a little project for a skateboard park. It's amazing. But anyway, alternative one says the noise did not identify significant impacts at a distance of 140 feet from the skate park. Really? A relocated facility would be about 200 feet from the nearest Orchid Avenue residences, and potentially significant noise impacts at this location would be eliminated. Alternative 2. Under this alternative, the proposed project would be reduced in size to approximately 4,000 square feet in size, but remain in the same location as currently proposed. The reduced size likely would result in a smaller facility than other skate parks in the region for the level of user that's being proposed. The alternative would not substantially reduce or eliminate the significant impact related to permanent noise increases, etc. Alternative 3. This alternative would locate a skate park within a smaller park that is surrounded by residences. The skate park would be located within approximately 30 to 70 feet of existing residences, depending on the facility's shape and orientation. So anyway, they all have significant issues. They all have significant noise problems in those locations. So I have to ask myself these questions. Is this size of a skate park compatible with the neighbors? And I have to say no. Is this size skateboard park compatible with the school? I don't think so. Is it compatible with the school district office? I don't think so. Does this project meet the original ideas of the neighbors that said that they could live with a small beginner skateboard park? No, I don't think so. So I think that what we should do is truly try to make it smaller so that it can meet the original intent of the project and meet the needs of the immediate residents, and I think the needs of the whole neighborhood. If it can be a beginner's small park that is needed, and no question about that, and not have it something that's going to be intrusive for the rest of the neighborhood, for the residents, but have something truly small that is not going to be used by older kids that are going to probably maybe be noisier than the little kids. Who knows? But those are my comments for now.
Thanks, Seth. Dennis?
You know, I moved to Capitol 47 years ago, and I'm kind of feel like a new kid on the block compared with some people who've been here generations. But I was fortunate for a number of years to live in Cliffwood Heights, and that's where my kids grew up, and they all went to school at both the elementary school and New Brighton Middle School right there. And I felt really fortunate. I had 3 parks in my neighborhood. You know, I had Jade Street, I had Cortez, and Noble Gulch, and within close proximity. And I can't say that's true to many neighborhoods in the Capitol. In fact, the city really doesn't own any parks. We own Jade Street. We were on a lease with that, and that's one of the reasons we did explore Jade Street for a skateboard park, by the way. Yeah, it wasn't something that was acceptable to the school district who owns the property. We own the Rispin property. That's more of a preserve, and it also has so many environmental restrictions. So the city doesn't have a lot of alternatives to put it in. Then we moved forward in recent years, and we put the McGregor Park. And I think the McGregor has been kind of a learning experience for all of us. And one of the learning experiences is that we don't want McGregor crowd over at this park. I mean, this is exactly what I hear people saying there. Okay, and I understand, and it's well taken. And what we learned is when it opened, it's a great facility for those kids that are using it over there. And it's a great spot for them because it's a noisier crowd. Kids that are 6 to 14 have the same rights as you and I and all of us there. We have to provide for them somewhere in the community. We have a problem right now with obesity with young children. We got kids that sit behind computer screens. And so physical activity of some type is good for them. And if you talk to kids that are in that group, or even on up to getting your driver's license today, those kids, their main mode of transportation and recreation are skateboards. And where have we provided in our community to allow them to, as an outlet or have physical activity? We've denied them. We told them, well, you can't skateboard in the village. You can't skateboard. You look at our skateboard ordinance, and it has a list of like 35 parking lots where they can't skateboard. So we've taken all of these opportunities for that kind of recreation away from them. And you watch these kids that go to the middle school every day, 50% of them got a skateboard under their arm. They do. That's what they do. So the proximity of the park, I think the noise thing may be a little bit overblown, but I understand the design and the skill level of the park will determine what that is. But when kids are outside the park also, when they're skating around, that noise is going to be the most evident in the neighborhood. I don't think that kids in the park itself are going to be a noise problem. I think it's going to be outside. Okay. It is our community park. That's what it is. And that neighborhood being blessed with having a school, a park, and a church right next to each other has pluses and minuses. One is you have to put up with people coming in and out and the mixed uses that are there. On the plus side is that you're within walking distance of many great facilities within your community. And that park belongs to everyone. It doesn't belong just to that community. Certainly you're the watchdog of that community, but it belongs to everyone in this community. And so a shared use such as I'm scaling this thing down. A shared use of that facility, if properly designed, and could be an easy accommodation into the community there that shares older people with young people, with neighbors, with mothers. And you've heard, how many mothers did we hear speak up here talking about their kids, and even in Cliffwood Heights wanting a place to skate? 4% of the park. 4%. That's 4/100ths of that park is proposed to use for the skateboard park, if it stayed the same height, the size it is right now. Pretty insignificant an area. I can't judge. I try and go over there a lot in the last 2 months to feel out what uses are being used, and I can't say that there's not other uses. People do sit on the mounds there, and people do use that at times. The major use is recreational activities such as walking through the park, the baseball field, soccer, whatever the facility is used today. A lot of baseball recently. So I don't see the skateboard park being in the way. I don't have a lot of judgment as to the Board of Education office being next door and what hours that they operate and the noise level from that. There's a suggestion of a sound wall, and I have some comments about that in a second. The site 2 really works the best for our community, and that's the mid site, bringing it forward. Keep the redwood trees, and you would have to lose the eucalyptus trees. But what you do, you demand, which is part of our city ordinance, that
You mean
you do.
2 or 3? You said site 2.
It's site 2, isn't it? It's the L-shaped one.
That's 3, actually.
That's 3.
That's why I just
Excuse
want
me.
to clarify.
3.
Okay.
Okay. Where was I?
Sorry.
That if we took this park and we said that everything had to happen like it was originally proposed, such as everything has to happen within a fenced area of 6,000 feet, okay? I don't think site's as big as the issue was what is inside the site, okay? And that we took and we lowered the elements that are inside that fence there, such as the size of the bowls, the jumps. Bring it down from 6 feet, bring it down to 3 or 4 feet. Take all the metal rails out of the park. In other words, as Danielle has just said, there is a way to design this for younger kids. And I have the same fear as you have, is that once you get to a certain level, you are going to draw from people coming over from McGregor. So you don't want to do that. The size of the park is really somewhat insignificant in the whole process here. But the elements that are there will determine who the users are in that park. The eucalyptus trees, we could make a requirement that you do a redwood grove somewhere on the property in exchange for the eucalyptus trees. The eucalyptus are not native; they're constantly and I tell you the truth, they're really not. If you talk to an arborist, they're really not safe. They're leaning. A couple of them are leaning really bad, so they're not. So.
Excuse me. We sat here quietly and listened to everybody speak. And part of the public process is it's our turn to speak. It's not a question. I'm not taking questions. The public comment period is over. Thank you. We're going to finish what we're doing. This is our business. Everybody knew the rules when we started this. Okay? They were very clear. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Dennis.
Okay, sound walls. I don't really know where that 8-foot figure came from, but a 6-foot sound wall between the Board of Education on their side was significantly high enough. The thing with sound walls is they throw sound back also. So if you do we do a sound roller, it should be a vegetated sound walls, and they are done all the time. And so you absorb some of that sound. So that's the protection from that side of the property, but not an 8 or a 10-foot wall. We're talking 6 foot is significant. Remember, this thing bowls into the ground to start with, and the noise level is going to be at your feet or lower. I was turned a little bit by Brian Stowe's comments about being able to sleep, and if that becomes an issue, Brian, I'm a building designer by trade. I will come over there and help you do soundproofing with your house, if that's what it takes. Okay. I think with mitigating measures that we can approve tonight, we can approve the skateboard park for this site. I think the EIR has been sufficient. We've had plenty of public input. This public process has worked actually very well. Everyone has had an opportunity to voice their opinion in this thing 2 or 3 times. So I'm going to pass it to you, Ed.
Okay. I want you to know that I wish I was up here trying to vote on something that everybody in this town loved, because it makes our job easy. But part of the reason we're up here, and part of what comes along with taking the obligation to be an elected official, is you have to vote the decision you feel is best for the entire community. And more than that, you have to vote what's in your heart. And I appreciate every one of the comments that were made today. I mean, I think the best part about this process is that, you come in and maybe you feel like you have an opinion one way or the other, but there were very valid comments made tonight from both sides. And it's nobody's intent to make, I started off by telling you we're all the 7th happiest coastal community, and that's because we hadn't made a verdict yet, okay? But tonight when we vote, obviously some people are going to be happy and some people are not, and that's unfortunate. There was a comment made earlier, and I wish we could get to that. I wish we were talking and instead of deciding, but unfortunately, this matter, as it has progressed, it already has a lawsuit filed against it, and because of that, a lot of the talking ceased. We're seeing, as you're following the news, they're, in the Central Fire District, they're not talking over there about wage and salaries because they quit talking. And anytime people quit talking, then we have to come up with a verdict. And I learned a long time ago that you don't win peace, you have to negotiate peace. And we're at a point now where we're going to make a decision. So without talking, I just have to go with what was said tonight. And what through this process, as this started a year ago, I've been going almost 2-3 times a week to a skate park in this county. I spend more time than I want to admit to at Scotts Valley looking at kids skating, okay? Because you can only stay for a little while, then people think you're a predator. So it's not, moms are protective. I'll tell you that right now. But what I learned from Scotts Valley is essentially 2 parks. It's a Mike Fox Park with a Derby Park. It's got everything there, but they have, thousands of square feet to put it. I think it's 20,000 square feet. Then I go to 4,000 square foot Derby Park, which nobody uses because it has a 3-foot drop. Then we go to Jose Park, which we don't want to, Jose has the park that nobody uses. Derby is a park that they built in the wrong place. They hid it so nobody can see it, and that's obviously why we're talking about making it visual. So we built McGregor, and McGregor has turned out, I think I had to say to her, at one of the meetings I had to say, after we put in, it started out being asphalt with portable ramps we're going to bring in, then we put concrete, we put a half pipe, the builder put some extra features into it, and it's actually a nice park. But as I sit up there and I look at it, it's kids that are 18 to 25, as was mentioned, and I spend too much time at that park. And And kids were chomping at the bit. I mean, these kids are starving for recreation. And here, I mean, I want to enforce a policy where they don't skateboard in the village and they don't skateboard in St. Joseph's Church. I went to the back of St. Joseph's Church and the kids actually took a hacksaw and sawed off the handrail so they could do the jump. So that's vandalism. You know what that is? These kids don't have a place to go. They need a place to go. And all they did is got creative, and you know, it's up to us. You know, when I grew up, when most of the people grew up, we played baseball. Okay, we put our tennis shoes on, our baseball hat, and you know where we hung out? We hung out in school grounds. Didn't have parks. We hung out in schools. Well, now you can't hang out in schools because of all the things that are going on with school safety. So it's up to us to provide a place for our kids to play. McGregor Park is what I call an advanced park. There were some little kids today. There was some guy in there trying to give lessons to a bunch of four to 8-year-olds, I'll call it. The only good thing about them is they're the only ones in the entire park that had on helmets and elbow pads and knee pads, okay, which is not worn by the skate community. That's just a fact. What I want to see at Monterey is I want to see what I call it. I can't go with a beginner. I would never support. I've been to Frederick Park, and I'm kind of embarrassed that people call it a park because it's not. It's pretty much a fish pond that doesn't have water. An intermediate park is what I'd like to see, and in order for it to be successful in the community, it would have to be intermediate. And by that, Dennis is getting there. I mean, he's trying to take out the things that make noise, take out the features. The actual drop, you know, the one thing that surrounds a lot of our discussions here is we started off with people coming here telling us that we were building 2 skate parks 300 feet apart, or 300 yards apart, I should say. And we all know now that it's just a little bit less than a mile. So the facts always help. And the drop at McGregor is 5 feet 4 inches. So for me to feel good about a park, I need a drop, like Dennis said, that's substantially lower. Because if we build a 5 foot 4 inch drop on Monterey, the kids are always looking for, it's like golfers. They want to play a different golf course. Kids want to go to a new skate park. What we want is we want young kids with their moms and their dads going to these parks as an intermediate park. I'm targeting an age, maybe not by skill level, because we all know that there's 8-year-olds that can do phenomenal things, but I'm targeting 4 to 14. That's what I think about. And what I see at McGregor is 18 to 25 and older. And for the record, I voted against McGregor Park. Okay, I wasn't in favor of that. What else? I forgot one important part I should have started with, and first is an apology. I totally recognize Cliffwood Heights as a neighborhood. Okay, I don't know how that came. As the mayor, I'm going to apologize to whoever said that. It was not appropriate. It is a neighborhood. It's a great neighborhood. And what I noticed more, as I campaigned 4 years ago to run for this office, when I walked the streets, that's where I found the kids. There's more kids in Cliffwood Heights. There's not a lot of kids in Depot Hill. There's a few in the Jewel Box, but we all know that that's where the kids are living. And there are young families. And, you know, as we sit on this council, I'm 61 years old and I'm the youngest person on this city council. And I wish we had 5 people up here in their 40s planning the future of this town. I think there's got to be respect for the people that are here. I think there's got to be compromise. What I would like to do is, I mean, in my mind, I would challenge the builders of the skate park to work with the people. And like I said, once we begin litigation, it seems to stop conversation. And I don't know how that process is going to play out. The challenge for us right now is when we walk out of this room, we're going to have to give direction. And as I said in the beginning, there were 4 plus 2 things we're going to have to decide on: approving the EIR, approving the design, and whether we can recommend something. But I want to acknowledge that contrary to what was said, the Planning Commission spent an inordinate amount of time reviewing the facts, the details, the provisions, the things that allow for a park to be built, a skate park to be built in a park. And you know, we right now with the school district, our relationship with the school district, I believe now is better than it ever was. When I got onto this council, they had just opened up a school up in J Street Park, and they had actually got into a lawsuit with the city of Capitola. That's how bad things got, a lawsuit. The city of Capitola lost the lawsuit, and that preschool is up there. over the past 4 years, we've gotten to a point where we just gave them the gymnasium over at New Brighton a year ago, and that's a benefit to them. And I would say right now that I feel we have a great relationship with the school board. And the school board realizes, a little bit that's, we can't tell them what to do with Jade Street, and they feel the same way with us. We want to be respectful. I think the most important thing we want to do at this park is be a good neighbor. Be a good neighbor to the school, to the residents. And as Dennis mentioned, when I look at this park, and I think, this started at option 1, which, was definitely a little bit unfair towards the people on Orchard. And if I put it at option 2, then I'm putting it closer to the people on Unipro, and I'm in Monterey's front yard. So if I was going to support a park, it would be in option 3. It would call for the removal of the trees, because the trees, there's no way you could have a skate park under those trees anyway, because you would be picking up the acorns all the time. It would be unsafe. And the thing we want to do is make it safe. For the police department, for them monitoring it, I think that 3 is an acceptable site for safety. It allows for the soccer field. There were some concerns originally when we started this process about whether we were going to continue to have a soccer field. I think that putting it in option 3 allows for the soccer field to be moved, maybe even be larger. The size of the park, that's going to be something, I feel like we made a commitment. Me coming around to this council, there was 3 council people back in 2012, I believe Kirby Nickel, Termini, and Dennis Norton approved. They said they would consider a 6,000 square foot park. So for me, 6,881 does not equal 6,000. That's us not being genuine about our commitment to this park. One thing I would say is the footprint of the park, I don't care if there's benches or seats or shade or whatever it is. The fence around the park could not exceed 6,000 feet. If it was even smaller by negotiation, that might even be a better deal. But I don't think for us to look at anything over a footprint of 6,000 would be us being honest to the citizens. Hours of operation. This is one thing I was really flexible on. This is a thing where you get along with the neighborhood. If someone comes home from work and they've been working all day and they want to be in their house, or if somebody's trying to sleep across the street, whatever that is, I believe we could restrict the hours of operation. And if we even closed the park one day a week, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean, the suggestion, the recommendation for this park is the wrought iron fence with I'm going to call it just the outward rails, okay? And that's a park that we can lock up. The park at McGregor obviously cannot be locked up. We proved that, okay? The day we opened it and locked it, there was 42 kids in there. So a 4-foot fence doesn't work. I think this is recommending the 6-foot fence. It's a substantial fence. I don't want the wall going all, there's no way I would support option 2. The wall going all the way across there would make it hideous. I think all we do with the wall on option 3 is we provide a barrier between the school, which I think essentially is a good idea. So, and Dennis said the brick, I think the brick was removed. No brick features, okay? I went to the grand opening of the park in Watsonville. And by the way, they spent $753,000 building that park. So these parks aren't cheap. We got away with the deal of the century by, I think, building McGregor for just under $150,000. But I know that the park that's being planned here, I don't know the price tag on it, but I can tell you it's going to be in the neighborhood of $300,000 to $400,000, maybe more. The brick features at the park in Watsonville aren't even used. So why put in something that makes noise that isn't used? And I think Dennis has touched on rails that maybe aren't steel. I believe that I believe conversation is going to make this a better park, but I think I've given you my guidelines on what absolute limits on what I would do. And last thing. I said this when I started this whole conversation, and I will strive and I will fight and I will do everything I can to put a bathroom in that park. I'm sorry. The park needs a bathroom. And that's it. Stephanie, other comments?
Well, I don't think I'm going to change anybody's mind, but I think you need to give some direction for size because, we've just left way too much up in the air, I think, unless we address that. I mean, that's the key feature. I mean, the neighbors can live with something that is small, and if you make it too large, it's going to be a very unpleasant situation. As I say, I had to ask myself, and I think we all have to ask ourselves, would you want to live across the street from a skateboard park? I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful activity once it's there, but do you want that as your front door? And I think a lot of people, would say no. They don't want that kind of noise. So that if we make this quite small, it'll deal with that, which is the major problem that people have.
Dennis?
Yeah, I think I'm ready to make a motion if you're ready.
Okay. Can you bring up, Rich? There's a screen that has the things that you wanted us to try to accomplish. I just want to put it up for the public. Just
That recommendation page.
Okay,
staff
my
recommendation.
first-
hang on. So let me. Oh, there it is.
There it
Okay,
is.
go ahead, Dennis.
Okay, the first motion would be to uphold the Planning Commission's certification of the EIR and adopt an adoption of the MMRRP. And that would be the first vote we would have it.
First motion?
Yes.
I'll second that motion. Any other discussion on that motion? Okay, so the motion is I'm going to read it off one. Are you okay with what I'm reading off of one?
Sure.
This motion is to uphold the Planning Commission decision to certify the environmental impact report and adopting the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. I'm going to call for a roll call vote on every one of these, Sue, so you can go ahead.
Okay, Councilmember Norton?
Aye.
Councilmember Harlan?
Aye.
Mayor Bottorff?
Aye. That motion carries unanimously for number one.
Okay, the next motion will be in two parts, and we're going to combine them. One is a motion to uphold the Planning Commission's decision to approve a modified project as described in the EIR, in alternative one of the EIR, and shown as option number 3. Okay, and then I got some items to add to that. And then the second part of this motion be authorize the city manager to execute a rights of entry agreement with the defense and indemnification agreement. Okay.
Hang on. Do you want us to deal with the city attorney? Should we just be dealing with 2 right now before we jump to 3?
I think that's fine. I think the planning director had a comment about Councilmember Norton's comment concerning the mitigation measure, specifically the noise wall, which I assume was going to be part of your motion.
Yeah, I have 3 or 4 items I want to add to it, and maybe I can clarify it for me.
Okay.
Okay, the option number 3, we've used option number 3. We reduce the footprint of the facility to 6,000 feet within the fence. Everything has to go within the 6,000, and so the skate park gets reduced to stay within that footprint. Okay, and that's within the fenced area. Okay, reduce the maximum drop from any point in this facility to 4 feet. Eliminate any metal rails or any metal objects within the skateboard park, and any noise features that the designer that are there now that can be taken out would be eliminated, and also using any kind of noise insulation features that could be used in this park. Hours operation, I just think we really pretty much have to stay with what the Planning Commission gave us on that, and that is, right now, I think it's 8 in the morning till sundown. But we're going to go back to a condition on that, on when, maybe days of the week, and then also the thought that you brought up, Ed, maybe of making a day a week that this park is closed. Is that something that you want to stick with, or what? I'm open.
My general feeling is that I think there was some language in here that we were going to reassess everything in 6 months, and that's what to me, this is a work in progress. If it's working, fine. If it's not working, we've learned in just a month what things we could do different in McGregor. So.
Okay, we'll keep it like it is then.
Okay.
And what we'll do is we have a reassessment in 6 months. And do we have a list of things that we're going to reassess on this, Richard?
So the Planning Commission had a condition that's currently in the resolution that would require a post-operation noise study approximately 6 months after opening, and then subsequent to the results of that study, the Planning Commission would review the permit, the mitigation, the conditions, see if any modifications are necessary.
Okay. The other thing is the sound wall, and that the sound wall not be built any higher than 6 foot from existing grade, and that through a landscape architect or designer, we find a way to actually vegetate that wall to actually reduce any bouncing of sound off of that wall.
So in regards to the noise wall, we do have limitations as it pertains to CEQA. We do have the ability to substitute mitigation measures where we can demonstrate that as an equivalent effectiveness, but we couldn't reduce the size of the noise wall if it didn't provide the same level of noise attenuation without recirculating the EIR. So we'd have to go back out, suspend tonight's decision, and recirculate. Going back to equivalent measures, a couple of the ideas that I have talked about with the noise specialist is you could have some kind of plexiglass wall that was affixed to the skate park fencing, the gates and the fencing. That might be able to be provided instead of a big wall. You could berm and wall rather than have a
Why don't
12-foot
we
wall.
require an acoustic specialist to take a look at what we're doing there?
You know, we can certainly do that. We can look at alternatives. And with some of the reductions that the council proposed, that might reduce the noise levels and have a corresponding reduction in the amount of noise attenuation that we need from the wall. So we could evaluate that, but at the end of the day, I don't think we commit here today to reduce it to 6 feet without that analysis to support it.
Okay.
But Dennis, can I just clarify? So in order to meet the desired effect of the EIR, we must provide a 12-foot barrier or something equal to that delivers the same amount.
Yeah, you can have a substitute measure which has an equivalent effectiveness as long as we can do the analysis and demonstrate that. But, you know, we need to do that analysis. Like I said, the one thing we did look at was a plexiglass type wall that'd be affixed right up to the skate park, and I think that would be an alternative that would be viable.
I think it'd be worthwhile to get acoustic specialists in there to find out the best way to do this thing. So we'll leave that one open then. Okay. Right now it's written in as a 12-foot wall.
Yeah, that was the recommendation of the noise specialist. What I would suggest is that we amend that condition to allow alternative equivalent measures to provide the necessary sound reduction.
Okay. Good. Okay, that's the motion.
Okay, my question on that is, should that go underneath item 2 on this list? These would be included in item 2?
Yes.
Okay, not an item, we're not dealing with item 3 at all yet?
No.
Okay. So these are, you like the language in item 2, including site number 3, maximum footprint of 6,000 feet, no drop of higher than 4 feet, eliminate all metal products, I guess is what it says, and sound wall to 12-foot wall or other material that I don't know how you want to word that, however you want to word that.
What I wrote down in my notes is to revise the noise condition to allow other measures which provide an equivalent noise reduction as the 12-foot noise wall.
And also to direct the park designer to look at including any feasible noise insulation features that can be designed into the park.
I got that.
And I'd just like a friendly amendment on the hours, instead of 8 a.m., 9 a.m. to sunset. I don't see a reason to be there before 9 a.m.
You want a second so we can discuss it?
Sure, I'm just trying to see, yeah. Is there,
I want to discuss it.
sure, so that, you're fine with that, and the friendly amendment is okay?
That's fine.
And I'll second that motion.
Well, we've heard talk about compromise here tonight, and I don't hear any compromise from my council members. 6,000 is 6,000 is 6,000, and that you've heard, I hope loud and clear, that's too big for the neighbors. That is too big at that location. So I'm very disappointed that you haven't come down. You know, we could make this work if you would.
think we really have, Stephanie, I think we have come down almost 1,000 feet, because this is 6,000 to the fence now. It is not the size of the
Yeah, but we were talking about 3,000 a couple years ago.
Yeah,
And
it's not-
a small beginner's 3,000 square foot, 3,500, maybe 4,000. We were talking about something little there.
I don't know if we've ever talked about it. I think the records will indicate that the motion approved by Norton, Kurt, Nickel, and Termini, whatever the date on there was for 6,000
And
square
that
feet.
was before any EIR and the analysis and all of the reaction that we've gotten from the neighbors and everybody that said that that's too big. And so it's our job now to look at this information and listen to the people and make a decision about it. We can make any decision we want to tonight about it. We don't have to follow the original application or the original decision that the Planning Commission made. We can downsize this thing. The Planning Commission could have downsized it, but they chose not to.
I don't think the square footage issue is as important in the design of this park as it is the elements that we put into it.
They're both very, very important. The size is very, very important, as are the elements. You take away the elements and still have the size, you may still have a tremendous amount of noise and older kids using it rather than just the beginners.
Dennis, any other comments?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Stephanie? Okay, we're going to call for a vote on this, and again, I want to thank everybody for their patience, cooperation. It's almost 11 o'clock at night, and I'm hopeful that if this moves forward, that everybody will be able to work with it. Sue, can you please do a roll call vote?
Councilmember Norton?
Aye.
Councilmember Harlan?
No.
Mayor Bottorff?
Aye. That motion carries 2-1 with Norton Bottorff aye and Harlan no. And again, everybody, thank you for your
We
patience.
have one more motion to make.
Oh.
Yeah, we have
Sorry.
item.
Got ahead of myself.
We authorize city manager to execute right of entry agreement and events and indemnity agreement.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
All in favor? Oh, no, let's do a roll call, Sue.
Councilmember Norton?
Aye.
Councilmember Harlan?
No.
Mayor Bottorff?
Aye. That motion carries 2-1. Norton and Bottorff aye, and Harlan no.
Point of order, may I please speak briefly to the council?
Since the decision's been made, Mayor Bottorff, I don't think additional
You
comments
do-
from the public are appropriate at this time.
At this point, we're not going to allow that comment. I'm not going to allow it.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we have all the motions we need. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Good night.